Mr. Tony Harrington with the national anthem. A sellout crowd at the Civic Arena in Hartford, Connecticut. And we are ready for Game 3. The referee tonight, celebrating his 38th birthday, by the way, Ron Hogarth. The two linesmen, Jim Christensen and Ron Finn.
In goal for the Nordiques is Clint Malarchuk of Calgary. Third playoff start ever. In the first two games he played well, but allowed 7 goals against. Mario Gosselin will be the backup tonight. And for the Whalers, just a tower of strength, Mike Liut of Western Ontario leads all playoff goaltenders with a 1.46 average. He's allowed only 3 goals in this series. He's been in 16 of the last 17 Whaler games, and his backup tonight will be Steve Weeks.
Quebec with a starting lineup. Peter Stastny on right wing, Gillis at center, and over on the left side, it is Alain Cote, so a little bit of a jumbled lineup. Jarvis, Tippett, and McDermott starting for Hartford. Here we go in Game 3, and immediately the puck is cleared into the Quebec zone. Pat Price is there, flips it into center ice, knocked down by Kleinendorst and shot to the Quebec line. And now Stastny, number 26, Peter Stastny, getting it into center ice. Here's Alain Cote, upended by McDermott, and the Whalers come back the other way. Dave Tippett, number 15, shooting one in Malarchuk. A glove save on the short side there. And Quebec come back with Moeller, flipping it into center ice. Kleinendorst knocks that down to Samuelson. Now over on right wing to John Anderson. He's checked, and Price cleared it into center ice. Hartford controlling it. Dineen dropping it back into a zone. And number 44, Dave Babbage. Factor number 11, Kevin Dineen. Got it to center. Goulet intercepting. And the Nordiques now feed it into center. Here's a break. Down left wing for Stastny. Taken out by Dineen, and Hartford clear it. Here's John Anderson getting away from Gord Donnelly. Now to Dave Babbage. He's in across the line, but Jackson Robert Picard shoots it around on the wing to Anton Stastny, number 20. Flipping it ahead. Quenneville breaks it up, and here's Dave Babbage to Ron Francis. Francis for Hartford to John Anderson. Pulled down by Picard. He'll get a penalty here. And Hartford, who had a great scoring chance, will now go on a power play. This is the NHL on CTV.
Robert Picard took a penalty he had to take there. Hooking was the call, as Anderson was the one breaking in, and it looks like the Whalers are going for the throat very early here. A couple of good plays set up there by Babbage.
Here's Dean Evison, number 12, on the Whaler power play. Trying to center it. Getting it into the corner to Turgeon. He's checked. And Pat Price then clearing it into center ice. And here's Mike Eagles for the Nordiques. Couldn't get around Babbage. Hartford, 1 for 7 on the power play so far in this series. Over the regular season, they were 11th best in the league with a 22%. Moeller trying to clear it out. Now Gavin for Hartford. Back of the net, trying to make a centering play. Over to Evison. He missed it, and Francis, number 10, at the point. Ferreting it in. Here's the chance for Gavin. Stuart Gavin, one of the real finds for the Whalers this year. Back to Dave Babbage. To Gavin, number 7. Back to the other point to Francis. Shooting Malarchuk, a stick save. Puck high in the air, and then a good play by Cote. He took a man out, knocked him out of the way, and then cleared the puck up. Francis again for Hartford. Checked by Cote. Evison getting it to Turgeon. Back to Dave Babbage for the Whalers. Babbage, number 44, to Turgeon. Hit the post. They score! Dineen, I believe, tipped it in after the original shot and hit the post. Ron, I'm not sure if Dineen put it in or the goaltender Malarchuk himself put it in.
I'll take the latter. Watch it come off the post, come back. Now Malarchuk just moved his skate back, and as he did, he slid it into the net. But again, the pressure was there. The key man was Gavin along the boards, and Babbage pinching in. There he is, and he was going for it, but it was Malarchuk reaching back, and if his skate didn't push it in, his stick would have. Kevin Dineen apparently has been given credit for it, and the Whalers, as you can tell, are in front. This crowd, this town has gone hockey crazy, obviously. A place that was nearly on the ash heap in terms of hockey here because of 4 teams. They have really caught fire, the fans here in this town. big pep rally in the hotel next to the complex here, and now they're leading 1-0 in what could be the deciding game of this series.
And Kevin Dineen, who was born in Quebec City, gives Hartford the lead with a deflection and a power play goal. Here's Wayne Babbage getting it into center ice, knocked down by Alain Lemieux. And now here's a chance for Hartford as they move in again, but it's broken up, and Ashton comes back for Quebec. Giving it to Lemieux, who's just up from Fredericton in the American League. He flips it in. Now Lemieux out of the net, checked by Ashton. Ashton trying to center. Gets it back to Siltanen. He lost it to Wayne Babbage, who leaves it for Ferrero, number 26. In on the wing to Torrey Robertson. Into Wayne Babbage, centered. Or Donnelly there to clear it away. Puck comes loose in the slot, and Ashton has it for Quebec. He gets it into center ice. Now Donnelly, number 34, will try. He's checked. And Anton Stastny has it. Getting it into the zone, but Dave Babbage is there to clear it out. The Hartford scoring play, Kevin Dineen from Turgeon and Dave Babbage, 2:29 the time. A power play goal. Here's Gilbert Delorme getting the puck into the Hartford zone, but it's offside at the Hartford Whaler blue line.
The Nordiques come into this game with injury problems. David Shaw and Normand Rochefort off their defense, not playing tonight. Robert Picard is playing hurt. He's got a bad shoulder and is favoring it. Up from the minors, they've called Alain Lemieux along with Gord Donnelly, and defenseman Jeff Brown was sent down to Fredericton to replace Donnelly. Not dressed tonight, Jimmy Mann, rookie Trevor Steinberg, Greg Malone, Peter Anderson, the defenseman, and the third goaltender, Richard Sevigny. Meanwhile, for the Whalers, the injuries, only one of them, as we've got some penalties being called here. Dana Merzen, who could have played tonight, but he's been bothered by a bruised left shoulder and has missed the last 2 games. Their extra men are Billy Gardner and Paul Lawless. So basically, after a year filled with injuries and injury problems, they come into the playoffs very healthy.
Stuart Gavin and Michel Goulet to the penalty box. Brad Park is back in our CTV booth for this playoff game. Brad, I talked at the outset and I listened to the Nordiques. They said that how important it was that they scored the first goal. They didn't. How much of a bearing will that have?
Well, you can't put your everything, all your eggs in one basket and count on just getting the first goal. They got to have a good first period. I think that's more what they're after.
Here's a chance for Hunter as he was upended, and we'll get a penalty here against Hartford. And as of right now, Quebec will be going on a power play here in Hartford, Connecticut.
Doug Jarvis doesn't get many penalties. He just picked up 2 minutes for hooking at the 4:01 mark. The previous penalties to Gavin and Goulet were for slashing. So the Nordiques get a chance here to go on the power play. There's the hooking as Hunter was breaking in over the line. And he went down, I guess, through the sheer force of the momentum after that last hook by Jarvis.
Quebec just 1 for 8 on the power play in the playoffs. 7th best over the season in the NHL with 99 goals, the most of any team in hockey. And Quebec on the power play. Peter Stastny to Robert Picard. Over to number 26, Peter Stastny. Into the corner to Sobe. Back to Picard again. To Peter Stastny. Quebec with the man advantage. Peter Stastny to Picard. Shooting one. Liut got his blocker up to get a piece of that. And then it's cleared by Bothwell and shot out of there by Dean Evison. Back at Siltanen, loses to Tippett. Tippett for Hartford, taken out by Siltanen. And now Quebec take over in their own zone with little J.F. Sauvé, number 15. Sauvé having trouble. Now breaks free on right wing at center. Dumps it in. Anton Stastny in to get it, but Ulf Samuelsson is there to clear it, and he cleared it up over the glass, and we'll get a face-off back in the Hartford zone.
Ulf Samuelsson, one of the young defensemen on this team, and a pretty good defenseman he is, too, and he knows how to look after himself in the National Hockey League. We'll talk about the job that has been done here in Hartford. I think we would be very remiss if we don't mention that Jack Evans is the coach of this team, and Jack Evans has done a terrific job. He's come under fire in this city. He's a very patient man, a man of very few words, as we all find out when we talk to him. He is not one of the most communicative people, but obviously whatever ideas he has when it comes to playing this game of hockey, he's getting through to his players because they are disciplined, and this last month is one of the great stretch drives I think that you'll ever see in NHL history.
Here's a loose puck with Samuelson intercepting it now for Hartford and clearing it out of there. Racing after Tippett. He pokes it around Malarchuk, trying to get in front. Shoots. He scores! Dave Tippett!
Goaltender mistake here. Brad, he who hesitates often is lost. And I think that what happened here was Malarchuk hesitated coming out.
He hesitated coming out, and Tippett just knocks it by him. Now Tippett's smart enough to know that he's going to somebody come to him, which Stastny does, and he throws the shot before Malarchuk can turn around.
What an effort. What an effort by Tippett. Listen to this crowd.
They are hockey crazy here in Hartford, Connecticut. It's 2-0 for the Whalers. A shorthanded goal by Dave Tippett, the native of Moosomin, Saskatchewan. What a big goal that is.
Well, sheer hustle again. His first goal of the playoffs. Samuelson will get the assist on it at 5:22.
So the Quebec power play, as I mentioned, only 1 for 8, and now they've given up a shorthanded tally as well. Puck is cleared in by the Nordiques, who are still in a power play, but Kevin Dineen is there to clear it out. And hustling back is Peter Stastny with John Anderson on his tail. Cleared around to Risto Siltanen. Siltanen, who used to be with the Whalers until a late season trade. Passing it in to Steve Patrick, who dumps it in. Liut out of the net. Flips it out to Dineen. Dineen missed it, but so did Siltanen. And Peter Stastny has to go back for Quebec. Into center ice to Patrick. He just shot it off the boards, intercepted by Ron Francis. Francis for Hartford, dumping it in. And Malarchuk leaves it for Peter Stastny. Number 26, Peter Stastny. Coming into the Hartford zone, trying to flip it through. Liut cleared it away, and then it's shot out by the Whalers as Torrey Robertson cleared it out. Going back is Pat Price. Knocked it away. Here's Ferraro centering, but Moeller was there for Quebec. Now, Torrey Robertson is shot just wide. Mike Eagles coming up with it and clearing it down the ice for the Nordiques as Liut comes out of the net to play it and feeds it for Mike McEwen. He couldn't get it out, but now covering up is Francis to Robertson at center. Long shot, grabbed by Malarchuk. Throws it back to the goal, and the Nordiques, who trail 2-0, try and clear it. Good play by Cote to get it by McEwen at the point. Now Moeller for the Nordiques. He can't get anywhere, now shoots it in. And it's knocked down, and Kleinendorf's number 18 for Hartford, flipping it to Babich, and that's called back on a 2-line offside. 2-0 here in the early going for Hartford. This is the NHL on CTV.
For a sweep over the Islanders in the Patrick division, and they are off to a good start on the island. 1-0 Caps. Rod Langway scoring.
Here it is 2-0 in favor of Hartford. Whalers have killed off that penalty. They're back at full strength. Here's Hunter for Quebec. A quick shot. Liut to save. Rebound. And Anton Stastny couldn't handle the puck properly. And it's cleared away by Tim Bothwell. Held in by Delore. Hunter deflected it. It went wide. Now Samuelson takes his man out back of the net, and there'll be a penalty here for holding against Ulf Samuelson of the Hartford Whalers. And the penalty box door is open. Samuelson being talked to by a couple of Nordiques, including Dale Hunter, and he'll go to the penalty box. He's a very aggressive European player.
Anton Stastny had a great chance, and I think this is typical of all of the things that have been going wrong with the game as far as the Nordiques are concerned. There's the holding behind the net, but Anton had the wide open net right at the side of the net and just fanned on it as he got the rebound off Liut. So Samuelson goes in on that play. And again, the Nordiques, who had the power play advantage a couple of moments ago and didn't come up with a shot, have now got an opportunity once again as we look at Claude LaRose in the foreground and, of course, Jack Evans. LaRose, the former Canadian, Minnesota North Star, St. Louis Blue, who now is an assistant coach here in Hartford.
Bradley Nordiques were facing a lot of pressure coming in here. They're facing even more now.
Oh, that's a long road to hoe for them, but it's early in the game. That's one thing that they do have going for them.
And they're on a power play right now. Number 12, Siltanen. Feeding it into center ice, and On the fly is Goulet, backhanding it in. Liut out of the net. Flips it over onto the boards. Knocked down by Quebec. Centered out in front. Siltanen giving it to Picard. Into Goulet. Knocked away, and Tippett then feeds it out, and here's Jarvis one-on-one against Siltanen. Jarvis' shot, Malarchuk a stick save, and here's Peter Stastny, number 26. Couldn't get it in. Evason for Hartford. Knocked it down. Now Picard moving in. His shot deflects and goes to the corner. And then the Whalers are there to clear it, and Evason backhanding it baseball style out into center ice. Picard feeding one up the middle as Goulet gives it to Peter Stastny. Back to Goulet. He missed it, and now taking over is Lemieux, number 31. Alain Lemieux back to Picard. Back to Lemieux. Side of the net to Stastny. Stastny centered. Picard a shot. Liut the save. Rebound. They score! Lemieux was there to get the rebound. And the call-up just today from the Fredericton Express in the American League. Alain Lemieux scores a crucial power play goal for Quebec.
Well, it gets them right back in the game. Here's the rebound. Alain Lemieux was the number 2 scorer in Fredericton and the top offensive player the last part of the season for them. Mario Lemieux's brother. And he's number 31 there as he just picks a loose puck up after it got by Liut and tapped it in. They were ganging the net, of course, with the extra man out there.
Lemieux played last season with Quebec through the playoffs, but has spent most of this year with Fredericton, but he's up for this playoff game as the Nordiques run into injuries. And a power play goal by the Nordiques. Lemieux gets it. Picard and Goulet the assist. 8:40 the time. A power play goal. Now Torrey Robertson feeding it to Ferraro as Hartford attack. Centered. That bounced crazily in front of the net. Now Wayne Babbitts to Samuelson. Malarchuk a save. And Mike Eagles gets it for the Nordiques. Poking it into center ice. Samuelson knocking it down to Wayne Babbitts to Robertson. Torrey Robertson shot wide of the net. Number 17, Wayne Babbitts, taken out by Price. Now Ferraro and Moeller battle in the corner for it. And 3 other players jam up. And then Moeller trying to get into it, I believe, with Wayne Babbitts.
Torrey Robertson, what happened was the sticks up against the boards kind of got high, and now they're all piling in there. And we're going to have a third man situation now. Gillis got in there as well. It started with Moeller and Babbage.
I thought it was Babbage, but as I look, it was Ferraro that he was going after on.
All right, and Robertson, I think it was his stick that seemed to be up as they were in the corner. And now this has got to be pretty serious stuff.
That's Mike Eagles that Robertson has pinned to the ice.
He's been in a few fights in this series already. Gilbert Delorme missed the second game of the series because of an injury he suffered while fighting Robertson. Moeller's the one that's most upset at it all. The rest of it seems to be a lot of holding. But I would think, without assuming too much, because of the way this has gone, there's a third man situation involved here. Who it is and which team, I don't know. Boy, I tell you, Moeller is really incensed.
Well, I get Ferraro over towards the penalty box. The referee, Hogarth, gets Ferraro away. Now that's Babbitts and Pat Price, who have each other in a headlock. I get Ferraro into the penalty box.
There's Ferraro having his save from away over there. We've still got 2 people lying on the ice right there, with the 2 linesmen trying to pry them apart. And having a great deal of difficulty doing so. And now that's Torrey Robertson who was involved in that one, Eagles. So it's all over. They'll guide him over to the penalty box here, and we'll wait for the announcement.
It is 2-1 for the Hartford Whalers. 10:42 left in the first period. This is the NHL on CTV.
No problem. I know it's
Getting to be a busy place, the penalty box, and they figured in all 3 minutes, 3 goals scored so far. There's a game misconduct. You just heard Ron Hogarth say there. I didn't catch what the number was. But take a look at what started this, and watch in the bottom part of your screen here.
Boswell, 2 roughing.
And what started it? Here is Ferraro. Now, Ferraro's number 26. That's Moeller moving in on him. The check up against the boards. Now watch Ferraro as he comes off the boards, just that little whack. Seemed to catch the glove of Moeller. Now that went over to the other side. Now watch Moeller, number 21 for Quebec, coming in. There he is. Ferraro has lost his helmet at this point, and they go up against the boards. And here's where it all started. Piling in, that it was Torrey Robertson, number 32, late on the whole situation. Now, there has been a game misconduct called. We'll have to wait the announcement as to which one. There he goes. So it is Moeller who has been given a game misconduct. I thought he was the first guy. It was the initial business.
Let's pick up the PA if we can for the penalty
2
announcement.
minutes for roughing. Number 21, Randy Moeller, 2 minutes for roughing, 2 minutes for roughing, a 10-minute misconduct, and a game misconduct.
That is a serious ejection.
Hartford penalties on number 24, Tim Bothwell, 2 minutes for roughing. Number 26, Ray Ferraro, 2 minutes for roughing. And number 32, Torrey Robertson, 2 minutes for roughing.
All right, now, Brad, you're short on defense. You've got an ailing Robert Picard. You don't have a David Shaw. You don't have a Normand Rochefort. And now you lose the best young defenseman you've got in Randy Moeller. And you're trying to stay alive in this series.
You're going to have to rely very much on your forwards to help out now. You're going to have to spend a lot of time in your own end. You've got people who haven't played. DeLorme has got a bad hand. He didn't play in the last game, so he's going to see more ice time, and it's going to affect his puck handling. I think the reason that Moeller got thrown out was because the linesman was trying to contain him, and he shrugged off the linesman, just threw him aside to try to get over to help Eagles, who was underneath of Robertson. So it wasn't a question of Moeller getting involved with something else. It was a matter of just manhandling the linesman.
I think you're right, because he was given a minor, then a 10-minute misconduct, then the game misconduct. So it was for continuing and not getting away from the fracas.
And even more serious in all of this, of course, is Quebec has the extra penalty, and now they're short-handed. So they are finding themselves in a very, very difficult situation. Shots on goal right now are
Number
6 apiece.
23 goes on the board for the 2 minutes.
Now he's just saying down at the penalty box area that number 23 goes on the board. That would be so maybe we won't have a power play situation. Now,
yeah, that's
right.
the penalty to
It was
Paul
up on
Gillis.
the board. All right, that's the Gillis one. I was thinking that 23 for the Whalers is Paul McDermott. He wasn't even on the ice.
So Hartford scored on a power play by Kevin Dineen, took a 2-0 lead on a shorthanded goal by Dave Tippett, and Quebec came back with a power play goal by Lemieux. Right now, Hartford will be on another power play and leading in this game 2-1. We still have 10:42 left in the second period. There you see Tippett, who scored that shorthanded goal in spectacular style. As we get ready for the face-off, it's going to be Turgeon with Anderson and Dineen up front. Babbage and Francis the point man. That's the Hartford power play. They have the man advantage right now as Francis dumps it in. Price is there to clear it away. John Anderson trying to center. Now Price knocking Turgeon down behind the net. Puck does come in front, and Brent Ashton for the Nordiques shoots it away. Dave Babbage back to get it to Ron Francis. Now Turgeon for Hartford, back to Dave Babbage. Over onto the other point, it's John Anderson, back to Babbage again. Dave Babbage tipping it into the zone. Ashton there to clear it away. Quebec shorthanded. And number 10 for Hartford, Francis, back to pick it up. He feeds it out to Turgeon. Leaving it for Francis, ahead to Anderson. Anderson centered, shot by Dineen, and an excellent save by Malarchuk on Dineen, as Malarchuk knew Dineen was there and anticipated well. Quebec cleared away. Francis back to get it. Leaving it there for number 44, Dave Babbage. Headmanning it to Evason. He got it into the zone. Silton is there to clear it away. 45 seconds left in the penalty to Gillis of Quebec. Here is Dave Babbage. Now to Francis. Tipping it in. Tippett going in after it, but Siltonen gets there first for Quebec and gets it by Babbage. Here is a race for it, and Hunter gets it. Hunter for Quebec, dropping it back. A shot by Ashton off the side of the net. And Quebec with a shorthanded try. Meanwhile, penalty now coming up to Hartford. A holding call against David Babbage. It is 2-1 here in the first period for the Hartford Whalers.
David Babbage upset with himself. He's off for holding at 11:01, and what happened was he got caught flat-footed, and the forward coming up, which was Dale Hunter, got by him and had speed, and he had no chance at all. You can see how he got by Babbage. No chance at all. This is after the puck had hopped over his stick at the other blue line. The only thing he could do was haul him down. Now Ashton moving in had a great chance that rolled off the end of his stick as he was trying for the backhand.
Each team a man short for the time being, but when Gillis gets back on in 7 seconds, then Quebec will have a man advantage. Here's Lemieux to Pat Price, number 7. Back to Alain Lemieux, number 31. He's had the Quebec goal. Now to Siltonen. Bristol Siltonen. Couldn't get around Quenneville, and then Lemieux cleared it away. Here's Goulet. Quebec now on a power play, but Samuelson comes up with a loose puck to tip it. He had a breakaway, but the puck skipped over his stick. He was in the clear and onside, but the puck just hopped over his stick. Here's Lemieux. Around on the boards. Now Lemieux gets it again. And back he comes, number 31 for the Nordiques. He leaves it there. Stastny, a shot just wide. Bounces in front, and Samuelson cleared it away. Now Delorme at the point. Over to Lemieux. Clearing it into the corner. And now Evison comes up with the puck. And Dean Evison, number 12 for the Whalers, who are shorthanded. Moving into the Quebec zone. Trying to drop it back. Now Dale Hunter picking it off, and Quebec start back. Lead pass to Peter Stastny. Dropping it to Hunter to Goulet. He deflected it with a skate. Lemieux stopped it anyway. And then Samuelson cleared it away. Held in at the point by Delorme. Shooting it into Peter Stastny. Back to Delorme. Shooting Lemieux to glove save. And he held on to it. And Samuelson and Goulet jam at each other with their sticks. Now in comes Stuart Gavin to push at Goulet. And 2 other players, Hunter and Kleinendorf, square off. And the linesmen have a busy time right here. While they straighten that out, let's see what else is going on. Here's Dan Matheson.
Shorthanded goals seem to be in vogue tonight, Dan, in Boston tonight. The Bruins are on the scoreboard first. Steve Casper at 17:56, while the Bruins were a man short. They lead Montreal 1-0.
We'll get more penalties. Meanwhile, a close chance there for Quebec.
Nordiques getting their chances in this period. They now have an 8-6 shots on goal edge. This one out in front of the net. Here it comes now as it is blasted in from the blue line. And the glove save is made there. That was a shot taken by Gilbert Delorme, a little closer to the net one we're used to seeing. Here's the penalty coming here as Samuelson comes charging in to check Goulet away from the side of the net. That little extra shot led to a shot by Goulet, and that led to a little bit more, and we wind up with penalties.
Slashing penalties to Samuelson and Goulet. Coincidental penalties. Dave Babbage, by the way, still has 26 seconds to serve in his penalty. So it is still Quebec on the power play. Brad, any thoughts from a strategy standpoint that you've observed in the first 13 minutes or so?
Hartford seems to be very willing to give Quebec the point shot rather than let Quebec work the puck in around the net. Quebec's problem is they don't have a big, strong, tough guy that's dead center in front of the net. And if they do, who's ever in front of the net is not standing dead in front of Lemieux, but standing out by the hash marks.
It's amazing how difficult a player like that is to find, a guy who's prepared to pay the price in there. Of course, now you're battling big defensemen that are equally tough in that slot area.
Definitely. You also need a big guy that can handle the puck, because on the power play you've got to handle it. It makes Al Secord from Chicago a prime example for the type of person you'd like to have there.
Or Tim Kerr.
Or Tim Kerr.
Puck is cleared by Hartford into center ice. Quebec still in a power play. Bristol Siltonen firing it in. Tippett kicking it back, and Tim Bothwell is there. He can't clear it. Now Quebec Ashton getting it in front, but unable to get a shot off was Peter Stastny. He's tied up now. Picard pokes it into the corner. Anton Stastny. Now it comes to Picard. Shooting it in behind the net, and Lemieux out of the goal, and the Whalers Bothwell cleared it. Peter Stastny knocked it down. Cuts in. Hit the side of the net. Penalty coming up to Hartford. Here's Quebec on the delayed penalty. Getting it to Siltonen. Shooting. He missed by about a foot with that drive. And now as Tippett gets possession, a tripping penalty called against Hartford, and another Quebec power play coming up right here.
Second straight shorthanded situation coming up for the Whalers. The rule of thumb for referees is if it takes a scoring chance away, you have to call the penalty. There's the giveaway on a partially fanned pass. And now as Stastny was moving in unmolested really towards the net, Tippett just got the stick between his legs and hauled him down. And they are shorthanded once again. That comes at the 13:24 mark.
2-1 in favor of Hartford. Quebec on another power play. Delorme. Number 6 moving in from the right point. Trying to get it into the corner. Joel Quenneville there to knock it away. Now Delorme again to Dale Hunter. Quenneville ties him up. Hunter behind the goal to Lemieux. Lemieux put it in front. Comes to Picard. A shot. That was wide and hit Quenneville anyway. And now Stuart Gavin. Number 7 gets to center. Picard tying him up. Hunter comes up with the puck, but was stolen back by Gavin. And now Dave Babbage. Forecheck by Patrick. Here is Dale Hunter. Overskates it. Now Picard to drive. Up high off the glass, and a penalty now coming up against Quebec and against Dale Hunter. And that will nullify the Nordiques power play.
Dale Hunter then going in. Here is the action against the boards as Picard has Gavin tied up. Babbage came in, took the puck away, but he is tied up, and he is tied up considerably here as Patrick himself kind of lay on top of him, wouldn't let him go. And then the hook on Gavin as Gavin turned to start to clear it up ice. An offensive zone type penalty nullifies a power play advantage, and Hunter's in there.
Shots on goal at this point favoring Quebec 9-8. But it is a 2-1 Hartford Whaler lead. And now each team will be a man short. A little 4-on-4 that we don't see very much of since that rule change this past offseason. Here's Cote, number 19. Getting the puck into the corner for Stastny. Francis has him tied up. Stastny centered, but knocked away by the Whalers. And then Kleinendorf getting it to Ron Francis. And Francis feeds it into center ice, and here's Mike McEwen. Number 25 for Hartford, over to Deneen. Shot right on Malarchuk, a pad save. And now Mark Kumpel starts back for Quebec. Kumpel, number 17, over to Peter Stastny. Bouncing puck, Stastny now centered. It went off Kumpel and just wide, and Scott Kleinendorf clears it to Deneen, who pokes it into center ice. Siltanen for Quebec. To Gillis, number 23. Off the boards to Kumpel. Kumpel shoots one, Liuta, stick save. And McEwen and flips it into center ice for Deneen, who leaves it for Francis. Ron Francis for Kevin Deneen. Back to Francis all along. He scores! Beautiful team play between Deneen and Francis.
Never see a better pass in front of the net, Brad, than this one. Nice drop pass here, but watch the give and go and in front of the net. There it is. Wow.
A great goal by Ron Francis, but it was just a simple 2-on-2, and the Quebec defense did not play it well, leaving Francis alone in front of the net. That's one man who's so talented. You cannot leave him alone like that in front of the net, but it was only a 2-on-2, and the Quebec defenseman did not play it well.
So it is 3-1 Hartford. That goal coming with each team a man short. A great combination, Deneen to Francis. Now it is Quebec trailing by 2 again as Mike Eagles trying to get it to Picard. He's checked and Eagles circles back. Eagles firing it back in and Liut out of the net to knock it away. Passing it over onto left wing, and it's now picked up by Evison, who gets it into the Quebec zone, and Ashton is back to control it for the Nordiques. Off the boards to Eagles. Now McEwen at center ice. Over to Dave Babbitt. Babbitt's number 44. Trying to move in. It comes to McEwen. He held it in, but now Price, an outlet pass, and here's a 2-on-1 Nordique break. Ashton's pass broken up. Ashton gets it again. He scores! Brent Ashton, when his pass didn't get through to Gillis, got the puck back and scores, and Quebec comes right back to narrow the Hartford lead to 1 goal.
Every time you think this game is going to break wide open and become all Whalers, they come back. You're showing a lot of grit. Ashton on the 2-on-1 here. He drops it off, and it looked at that point like the play was all messed up. Ashton's got a great shot, and he threw it past Liut on the short side after getting it back off that rebound. Here it is. He fanned on the first one, not a rebound. He fanned on it and then fired it in. I think Babbage had hit him either the arm, but whatever, it deflected into the short side. And Ashton, with his second goal, has again narrowed it to a 1-goal game.
I think you're right, Ron. I think it did hit Dave Babbage as he went down to try and block it and change directions on Liut. And Quebec come back to cut it to 3-2. A short-handed goal because the Hartford penalized player was back on. Quebec still short-handed. Their penalized player, Hunter, is back on. So now the team's at full strength. So each team has had a short-handed goal here in the first period. Here's Anderson shooting it in. Silton is there to clear it right back out. Tim Bothwell flipping it in. Now shot to Cote at center. He couldn't get anywhere. And Pat Price circling in his own zone, working it over onto left wing. And here is a dump in by Gillis for Quebec. Back is Bothwell to clear it. Gillis comes in again. Couldn't get it. And Francis breaks out for the Whalers. With Deneen again. Francis shot. This time Malarchuk a glove save, and he held onto it, and we got a stoppage. 3-2 here late in the first period in favor of Hartford. This is the NHL on CTV.
In the upcoming intermission, we will talk live with the Whalers' outstanding defenseman Dave Babbage. David Johnson of the Montreal Gazette will spend 2 minutes in the press box. We'll also have the highlights and the out-of-town scores.
Went Malarchuk, the Nordique goaltender, that last scoring play for Quebec. Brent Ashton is second of the playoffs from Price and Gillis. A short-handed goal. Here from the face-off, Babbitt's shot. That went wide. Each team has had 1 power play goal and 1 short-handed goal here in the first period, plus the at even strength goal by Ron Francis. Puck is shot in by Dale Hunter. In to get it is Goulet. Now the Nordique center, but Quenville was positioned perfectly, and Stuart Gavin gives it to Dean Ebbison, number 12, who fires it in for Hartford. Back is Robert Picard. Picard clearing one. Anton Stosny at center, onside in the play. Into Dale Hunter. Has a man open in front of the net. Can't get it to him. And coming back with a good play was Samuelson as he ties up Hunter. Anton Stosny now in to help out. Now Dale Hunter getting in a headlock with Samuelson, and then one of the other Whalers comes in and takes a shot at Hunter.
Well, Hunter up against the board. Samuelson was playing the puck. Hunter decided he was going to start to rough up Samuelson. Samuelson simply skated away from it without doing anything at all. Here it is. If anything, there might have been a little bit of extra put into this check here, but he missed him. That may have got Hunter going right there. Now comes all of the stuff up against the boards. There's the first punch. Samuelson's still looking for the puck there. As you can see, he's looking down, trying to play it. And here comes the second one. And then finally, Samuelson did get the puck in his skates, and he wound up skating away with the puck. But nothing comes of any of that at all. It'll just be a face-off deep in the Whalers' zone.
Brad, the Whalers have had the Nordiques in big trouble a couple of times, but Quebec has hung in.
That's the experience of Quebec. They're not going to panic. They'll be down 2 goals, but they know that they've got some firepower that they don't have to panic.
Here's Delorme as Quebec holding the puck in the Hartford zone, but now Tippett tried to clear it. Ashton held it in to Steve Patrick. He's checked, and breaking away, number 15, Tippett for Hartford. Tippett trying to center. It was deflected, but it went wide as Price had McDermott all tied up in knots in front of that net. Back as Eagles for Quebec. His shot steered into the corner by Liu. Old Samuelson there to get it. To number 23, Paul McDermott, who cleared it into the Quebec zone. And now back to the play. A penalty coming up here against the Nordiques. A charging call it is. And it is against Steve Patrick, number 25, a charging penalty.
Well, there's a little extra. We had the charge by Samuelson, but unfortunately, I suppose for Samuelson, he missed on the check on Hunter. This time they didn't miss. And Stephen Patrick is off the ice now on the charging call, and the Nordiques will play shorthanded with a face-off down in their own zone. Now, the special teams haven't had what you'd call a great night here tonight. 4 of the 5 goals that have been scored. Here comes the charge. There it is, up against the boards. Near the top of the screen. Well, Patrick's in there.
And Hartford with a power play. Each team has had a power play goal. Each team has had a short-handed goal. And the other Hartford goal came with each team a man short. So the Whalers with the man advantage right here. Francis, who's a point man, along with Babbage, into Ferraro in the corner, centered. Anderson couldn't get a shot off. Now back on the point to Francis. Into Ferraro. Side of the net. John Anderson, number 20. To Dave Babbage. Shoots one, deflected. Anderson shot stopped at the defense. Now Dave Babbage centers. Anderson shooting. Malarchuk came out. Cut down the angle and made a good save. And then Elaine Cote clears it away. Francis, number 10, back to get it. The Whalers leading 3-2 and on a power play. Here's Dave Babbage. Into center ice. Anderson in for Ferraro. Broken up and cleared by Picard. And back comes Quebec. Ashton with a long shot. And Liut handles that, steering it aside for number 20, Anderson, who started this year with Quebec. He loses it. Here's Eagles with a backhander. Liut the save. We're in the final minute of the first period. 3-2 Hartford. Here's Ron Francis. Lead pass to Ferraro. Broken up by Picard. Cleared out by Eagles. And Francis for Hartford waits for his team to get onside. Then feeds Ferraro. Back to Anderson. John Anderson to Ferraro. He scores! Ray Ferraro!
Ray Ferraro has always been a great scorer. He got it in a good position to score here as Anderson fed it back to him at the side of the net. Here it comes. Great pass and a quick shot. He let it go. Anderson with a back pass. Gets it in front, slips it over, and Ferraro again has scored well over 100 goals in his final junior year with Brandon, or at least out in the West with Brandon. And he just put that one home on the power play again. 40 seconds remaining in the period. And again, that 2-goal lead.
Now Quebec trying to battle back once more. Goulet into the corner, couldn't center, and McDermott gives it to Doug Jarvis, who clears it into center ice, and Hunter, or at least it is Siltanen back to get it. Feeding it into center ice. Goulet for Quebec, shot it to the Hartford line, and Doug Jarvis, defensive specialist, cleared it away. Pat Price now trying to get it out of there. Here's Goulet with just 10 seconds left in the period to Siltanen, into center ice to Peter Stastny. He moves in, number 26, Peter Stastny, and McDermott came sliding across and covered up and got the puck underneath him, and we'll get a stoppage in play. Ron talked about Ray Ferraro, native of Trail, British Columbia. 108 goals his last year of junior at Brandon. Not only that, 43 power play goals, 15 hat tricks in 1 year.
And was named the Western Hockey League's most valuable player that year. And was nominated in the running for the Canadian Junior Player of the Year because of that. And wound up losing that award to one Mario Lemieux.
Just 1 second, by the way, left here in the period, as you see. That last scoring play, Ferraro from Francis and Anderson at 19:20, a power play goal to make it 4-2 in favor of Hartford.
Did the time click down 1 or 2 seconds?
Now Hogarth is questioning the penalty timekeeper. By the way, the off-ice officials here tonight are from Montreal, as is the custom in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The off-ice officials are always from a neutral city.
And the complaint has come from the Nordiques, but I don't think there was any countdown, or it didn't trip down as Picard was questioning the clock. Are they going to put it back on?
They put it back to 3.
Are going to, apparently. Now, what happens here is we've got off-ice officials, with the exception of the man who handles the electronics down there. They generally remain the home rink, mainly because they're varying styles and setups, like learning a new keyboard, a new typewriter. So they leave them, but the rest of them, the people who handle the goal. So they pull the goaltender now. So we'll get that extra man for the 3 seconds involved here.
By the way, that goal for Ferraro is first of the playoffs. He had a 30-goal season this year with the Whalers. 6 attackers with just 3 seconds left for Quebec in the faceoff in the Hartford zone. Jarvis one of the best face-off men in the business, will take it for the Whalers against Peter Stastny. 6 attackers for Quebec. The Nordiques get it. It comes to Siltanen. Shoots one. It's wide of the net, but the period was over before that shot was unleashed. And then McDermott has some words with Siltanen, and that's what we have the pushing and shoving about. The first period has ended here in Hartford, Connecticut. Shots on goal, 13 apiece. But Hartford, with Quebec facing elimination, lead the Nordiques after one period, 4-2. Stay with us for our upcoming intermission. This is the NHL on CTV.
Hartford Whalers leading 2 games to 9, lead 4-2 over Quebec. First period, Kevin Dineen, Dave Tippett made it 2-0 Whalers. Alain Lemieux got the Nordiques on the board. Ron Francis made it 3-1. Brent Ashton made it 3-2. And then Ray Ferraro restored the Whalers' 2-goal lead. That's how we sit, getting ready for the second. Shots on goal in that first period, dead even at 13 apiece. Brad Park joins us now with his highlights and his analysis. And you're going to talk a little bit about defensemen and mistakes and tension in the playoffs.
Oh, the playoffs bring a lot of tension. They bring a lot of mistakes, but they also bring some individual hustle out there, and we're going to have a good look at some of these things. We also are going to key on the Quebec power play and also some great plays. One thing we're going to look at right now, we're going to look at some great hustle by Dale Hunter. And it was a play where the puck was shot around the boards, and Dave Babbage has a tough time handling it. Now, Hunter just hustles by him and actually out-muscles him. Now, Hunter is not as big as Babbage, and Babbage has to reach around with his left hand and pull him down, and Hunter drops it off to Ashton, who didn't get a good shot away. On the other hand, we talk about nervousness. Well, this is a Quebec power play. Watch it go into Peter Stastny, the guy they want to get the puck to. He'll drift by. Watch Picard come into the screen. There's the shot. Goulet's in front. It squirts over to Lemieux on your right, and he jams it home. But Stastny was the key on that because he's the guy they got to get to move the puck. Here's a look at the Hartford power play. It goes in basically the same type of play. They're moving it around. It goes over to the point. Here's a shot. Malarchuk is right there, but it comes across. A lot of scrambling in and around the front of the net, but you're getting those good point shots from both people. Now here's the shot. Watch Siltanen. He had his man at the side. Siltanen could not move from the side and let that guy go. He had to let Malarchuk play that shot. Now, this is a mistake by the defense. Early in the game, Anderson gets loose, makes the pass in, and they have to haul. There's Picard making a hook check on them, pulling Francis down. But the defense are closing the gap too much. And when they close the gap like that, they're really anxious, not checking. Here's that 2-on-2 we talked. Watch Francis drop it. The Quebec defense, nobody takes Francis. They both go for the play. Francis ends up on front all alone. He just tucks it away.
Whalers are pumped up. They are leading, and they are healthy. You're the Quebec coach. What do you do now? You are not healthy, and you're behind.
Well, you've got to realize that you've still got 2 periods to go. It's not like you've got 1 period to go. You've got time. You've got to chip away at them.
4-2 after 1 period of play. We will have the out-of-town scoreboard when we come back. This is Carl O'Keefe Sports, the Stanley Cup playoffs on CTV.
Time now for our Carling O'Keefe Sports play of the period. It was the second goal. This made it 2-0. Tippett breaking away on the pass from Samuelson. Gets by Malarchuk, who hesitated coming out of the crease. Peter Stastny back to check. Just overskated Tippett. And meanwhile, Malarchuk trying to scramble back into the crease and just failed to make the save. That made it 2-0. But now as we enter the second period of play here at the Hartford Civic Center, it is 4-2. Hartford leading the Nordiques.
And the Nordiques have made a goaltending change. Mario Gosselin takes over from Clint Malarchuk as his second period gets underway. There you see Mario's record, 14-14-1, a 3.86 goals against average. He was the big noise for Quebec a year ago in the playoffs.
And he is a good goaltender, too. This is an area in which they are very strong in the nets. And I don't think this has got anything to do with the way that first period was played by Malarchuk. I think it has a lot to do with just trying to change the atmosphere out there, make it a little different. Maybe the team will play a little bit better in front of Gosselin.
And right off the bat, Mario has to come out and sweep a puck away. And here comes Goulet at center ice to Kumpel. Kumpel leaving it for Goulet. Goulet put it right through the crease with a backhander. Now Pat Price at the point, trying to hold it in. Does to Goulet behind the net. Goulet gets it in front, but Samuelson for Hartford, feeding it to Evison, number 12. He gets it in for Stuart Gavin, but that whole play is offside at the Quebec blue line, and we'll get a stoppage there. Brad, the Quebec Nordiques have made a goaltending change. Any thoughts on that strategy?
I thought Malarchuk looked a little shaky in the first period. He wasn't out on some of the shots, and he was still juggling his feet when the puck was on the way to the net. And I think that Michel Bergeron probably saw that, and it's also a shakeup for his hockey club.
Face-off will be at the Quebec line. We're early in the second period. 4-2 the score in favor of Hartford. Quebec with a line of Gillis, Cote, and Eagles against the Jarvis, Tippett, and McDermott line for Hartford. Here's Eagles. He's tied up, and now they puck loose in center, and Eagles shoots it in for Quebec. The Ute leaving it for Kleinendorst out to Tippett. Head manning it to Doug Jarvis, number 27, and he just fires it into the Quebec zone. Here's McDermott, 2-goal man in game 2 for Hartford. Trying to center one. Now Picard tying McDermott up out in front. A shot, big save, Gosselin on Tippett, who was alone in the slot. And Mario Gosselin comes in cold and comes up big. This will be an icing call against Quebec. A little native of Thetford Mines, Quebec. Mario Gosselin with a big save, and now we have Gillis pinned in against the boards as he and one of the Whalers would like to get at each other. Hartford player being restrained, by the way, and taken over towards the penalty box. We'll have penalties here, or will we? Kleinendorst is the Hartford man involved. 4-2 early in the second period in favor of Hartford.
Scott Kleinendorst in the penalty box. He's in there along with Gillis, each of them off for roughing. Kleinendorst, one of brothers that played with this team. Kurt also with the team in the past. And so it's even, and that means everybody's out there at full strength. But now there's a gathering of the group down near the goal mouth of the Nordiques. And I think there's equipment problems or something down there. Gosselin trying to get his equipment ready and now is set.
By the way, Mr. Roos, what did you think of David Johnson's comments on his press box editorial about various things in the NHL, including the Edmonton Oilers? I disagree completely. I think Edmonton's one of the best teams I've ever seen.
Well, they are. I think it's because of the great players they have, and how many great teams can you think that have 6 or 7 great players on them?
We're underway again as Turgeon moves in for Hartford. Trying to center. Hunter breaks that up and tries to fire it out of there. Held in again by the Whalers. Sylvain Turgeon can't get around Price. Now here's Evison centering it into the slot. Gosselin cleared that away just in time. Turgeon trying to center, and now Kumpel for Goulet as Quebec come back. Goulet firing it in, and Liut out of the net to feed it around on the boards to Turgeon. Hunter into forecheck on him now. Quenneville feeding it into center ice, and here comes Dave Babbitt with a long shot. That's just wide of the net. And Gord Donnelly tips it to Anton Stastny. Intercepted by Anderson in the clear. Shooting, he missed by a couple of feet. Anderson with a great chance. Another shot. They score! Samuelson from the point. It's 5-2 Hartford.
Number 5 shot it. I don't know if it's tipped or not.
Not much of a shot, but I don't think that Gosselin saw it. Here it comes for the blue line. See the crowd in front. He reacted late, and it got by him.
I'm not sure if it was tipped by one of those Whalers in the line of fire or not. But if not, Donnelly certainly screened Gosselin on the play.
Well, there were about 3 that were crisscrossing in front of the path of the puck. Nobody touched it, in my view, unless it was just simply such a small touch, which is all it takes, really, that we couldn't see it on a replay.
Samuelson gets the goal, and the Whalers have a 3-goal lead as Quebec bank out of their own zone, led by Peter Stastny. He drops it back. There is a shot blocked at the defense by Bothwell, and then Quebec clear at the center ice. Picard with it there to number 34, Donnelly, into Anton Stastny, to Peter Stastny, to Ashton, but He was upended in front of the net, and Tim Bothwell of Hartford will get a penalty right here. 5-2, Hartford leading. This is the NHL on CTV.
Another power play situation coming up for the Nordiques. Tim Bothwell in for interference. Here it is in front of the net. Bothwell, he had his man. He had a line on his man, and he almost stumbled over the leg. I'll tell you one thing about Ron Hogarth in this game. It may be his birthday, but he's not ready to give anything. He is calling it very close.
And last scoring play, Samuelson is first of the playoffs from Anderson to give Hartford a 5-2 lead. Now the Whalers short-handed, clear it down the ice, and chasing back after it is Bristol Siltanen for Quebec. The Nordiques are 2 for 12 on the power play in this series. Puck shot in by Siltanen. Liut flipping it, gets it up high, but knocked down by a high stick by Quebec, and that stops play. And the faceoff will come all the way back into the Quebec end of the rink because of that high stick by that man right there, Alain Lemieux.
Well, Lemieux, as we mentioned, is Mario Lemieux's older brother, was the second top scorer in Fredericton. He had 29 goals and 45 assists down there. They brought him up along with Gord Donnelly simply for, in the case of Lemieux, his offensive ability. They're getting a little short in that department, and he can do some of those things. Not the greatest skater, but he has good hands and a bit of a touch.
Here is Lemieux against Jarvis on the faceoff, and Quebec win it and break out, led by Goulet to Peter Stastny, or to Anton it was. He's checked, and now the puck goes back, and Lemieux has to chase back to get it. Quebec on a power play. Bothwell is off for Hartford. Here's Lemieux shooting it in. Digging in on left wing is Patrick. Around onto the other side, but Stuart Gavin is there, and he shoots it away for Hartford. And Siltanen has to go back. Siltanen acquired from Hartford for John Anderson right at the trading deadline. Up the middle to Solvay. He was stopped. Now a drive by Ashton just wide. Anton Stastny trying to center, but Stuart Gavin battling on the boards, comes up with the puck, and Evason then shoots it away. And Peter Stastny has to go back. 40 seconds left in the Hartford penalty. Peter Stastny to Solvay. Sliding it into Anton Stastny. Dave Babich is there. And the big, strong Whaler defenseman works it to Tippett, shoots it away. Siltanen again, back for Quebec. Number 12, Bristol Siltanen to number 9, Brent Ashton. Through the defense and on goal. Samuelson came diving across to make a big defensive play. And now Tippett breaks out for Hartford. Tippett into center ice to Samuelson, who fires it in. And going back to get it is Siltanen. Bothwell is back on. And Quebec clear it down the ice. It is Joel Quenville. It didn't go all the way. And now they rule it did go all the way, and it's an icing call against Quebec. A big defensive gem moments ago by Ulf Samuelson.
Looked like 10-pin bowling there. He went sliding through the slot area, took everything in sight with him, but it was a good play. It was Ashton who made a good play breaking in. Now he's going to get to his feet and get his balance, but here comes Samuelson. And everybody went flying with that one as he just cleared the slot area. 5-2, Hartford leading. Samuelson, I guess if you look back, he's got a bit of a reputation for carrying his stick high. We find that a few of the young players coming into the league, and you can't certainly pinpoint only Swedes, because it happens to juniors coming out now too. But he's picked up a reputation simply because you're not used to seeing Swedes play it that tough.
Here is a puck cleared near the Whaler blue line. Mike McEwen trying to clear it out, held in by Cote, but covering up on the play and getting it out of there was Fleinendorf. Now Hartford with Wayne Babich over to number 26, Ferraro, who shoots it in. Wayne Babich in to get it. Babich centered one, Babich again. Wayne Babich back on the point to Kleinendorf. Hartford's Ferraro centered, poked just wide by Ferraro. Now here's Wayne Babich. Into the corner to Torrey Robertson. Robertson with Hartford leading here 5-2. Gets it to Wayne Babich. Babich into the corner, taken out along the boards by Delorme, and then Quebec break out and feed it to Robert Picard, number 24. A special welcome, by the way, to our Calgary and Winnipeg audience who have just joined us here in Hartford, where the Whalers lead Quebec 5-2, with Quebec facing elimination. Hartford on the attack, moving in, a pass to Wayne Babbage, who banned on it, and then Quebec's Dale Hunter drops it to Gord Donnelly. Now out on right wing, the Nordiques on the attack. Here is Goulet with a shot, and Liuta glove save on Goulet. Back comes Gavin, couldn't get it out. Dale Hunter holding it in, trying to get it to Goulet. Samuelson is there to knock it down, and then Gavin cleared it to center. Here's Turgeon, spun around by Donnelly. Now Hartford shoot it into the Quebec zone, and Mario Gosselin, who took over at the start of this period in goal for Quebec, cleared it away. Dale Hunter back in the corner, couldn't clear it. Here's Evason shooting one off the shoulder of Gosselin. Now Turgeon centers one, comes to the point. Dave Babbage with a high backhander. Dropped or blocked by Dale Hunter. Hunter can't clear it, and then Hunter just fell on top of the puck. 5-2 here in the second period in favor of Hartford. This is the Stanley Cup playoffs on CTV.
Coach of the Hartford Whalers, Jack Evans, in his first NHL playoff as a coach. He had the California Seals and he had the Cleveland Barons, which were the same team once removed. And he, I guess, got the eye of Emile Francis and wound up coaching his minor league teams.
Dave Babbage's shot turned aside by Gosselin. And now Siltanen clearing it out to Peter Stastny. To Gillis at center. Stastny back out as a winger. Here's a pass to Picard into Ashton. Ashton trying to center, and Gillis couldn't handle it. Back comes Francis. 3-on-2 Hartford break. Ron Francis dropping it to Anderson. Gosselin the save. He looked in behind him, but it made the save. And Siltanen right back for Quebec. Siltanen leaving it to Ashton. Babbage ties him up. Now John Anderson trying to clear it out of there for Francis. Missed him with the pass. And as Delorme goes back to touch it, this will be icing against the Hartford Whalers.
Just to finish off the top there, as we look at number 6, Gilbert Delorme for the Nordiques. Jack Evans coached the minor league team for the St. Louis Blues in Salt Lake City and won the Central League Championship as the coach there 2 times in a row. And that's what I think it was one of the things that started Emile Francis when he came over to this Hartford franchise into thinking they might be the man for him. Now, again, we've said that Evans is one of those very quiet men that doesn't say an awful lot, and for that reason, some people think he's not a very good coach. I think a lot of that opinion is changing.
Here's Pat Price for Quebec. Shoots one. Stopped at the defense. Now Lemieux trying to kick at it. He has no stick. And Jarvis comes up with it for Hartford. Price held it in. Price checked by McDermott. Here's Tippett trying to break away. But a good play by Anton Stastny to take it away from him. Now Samuelson cleared it into center ice. Whalers, Paul McDermott just golfs it into the Quebec zone. Gilbert Delorme back for Quebec to Cote number 19. Into center ice to Anton Stastny, checked by Gavin. And it's dumped back in by Hartford with Price back to pick it up. Over to Delorme. Headmanning to Anton Stastny, now to Cote, number 19. Alain Cote. Taken out of the play by Samuelson. Now Anton Stastny couldn't center, and Gavin for Hartford clearing it. Gord Donnelly held it in. And the Nordiques try and center, but Evason is there to intercept and come to center. And now Hartford moving in deeper. Turgeon centering pass knocked away. And back comes Goulet to Kumpel, who pokes it into the Hartford zone. Kleinendorf's back after it. This pass to Turgeon, number 16. He handed the puck right to a Quebec player, but Gavin gets it back for Hartford and shoots it out of there. And Siltanen is back for Quebec. We're almost halfway through regulation time. Here's Goulet for the Nordiques with a long shot. Youth handling that. McEwen then cleared it, and here's John Anderson for Hartford. At center to Kevin Dineen, number 11. Into Ron Francis. Francis, Anderson, and Dineen on the ice for the Whalers. But the Quebec Nordiques are able to clear the puck into center ice. And Dineen then trying to shoot it in, shot it up over the glass. 10:34 left in the second period. This is the NHL on CTV.
Last time we checked in with the Montreal-Boston score, the Bruins were behind, but now they're in front on goals by Reed Larson and Keith Crowder. Larry Murphy's put the Washington Capitals in front of the Islanders 3-0. That's in the second period. And in Winnipeg, Calgary 2-1. Doug Risebrough, Joe Mullen for the Flames. Ray Neufeld has replied for the Jets.
Here it is 5-2 midway through the second period in favor of Hartford. Quebec on the attack. Peter Stastny, short side save by Liut. Now it's Ashton in the corner, but he's pinned there by Dave Babich, and we'll get a stoppage and a face-off in the Hartford end of the rink.
We talked about the problems that Peter Stastny has right now. He suffered a bout with the flu and then came down with tonsillitis. And apparently the double bout, the two back-to-back, really depleted his iron content in his blood. They took a blood test on him. I guess if you were a racehorse, you'd stop him. You'd put him out on the field and let him rest for a while, but you don't do that. I guess if you're a human being, they send you out there and make you play in the Stanley Cup playoffs, especially if your team faces elimination and you're the type of player that Peter Stastny is and loves and wants to play the game. But he is apparently at a very low iron content in his blood, anemic, and he's going to have a summer before he'll get rid of that problem.
Puck is cleared away by Hartford. Siltanen back to get it. To Patrick into center ice. Now Patrick, number 25. Trying to move around the defense, but Dave Babich took him out of the play. Now Peter Stastny unable to center. And Hartford come back, led by Ron Francis to Deneen. Poking it over onto the wing to John Anderson. Back to Francis, shooting off the goal post. Francis hit the post dead on with that shot. And now Ashton comes back for Quebec to Peter Stastny. Quebec trailing by 3. Peter Stastny flipping it through. Miss Pat Price with it. Price goes back to get it into Eagles in the corner. Now to Peter Stastny. Now to Eagles. Jarvis hucks him down. He'll get a penalty here. Doug Jarvis will go to the penalty box, and we'll have a Quebec power play coming right up. This is the NHL on CTV.
For a defensive kind of a player, Doug Jarvis, as we mentioned earlier in the game, doesn't get a lot of penalties. 36 minutes total this year. Here he gets the stick up and draws his second penalty in the game. And I can't remember having seen Doug play many years in Montreal. Well, certainly I can count on my two hands the number of games, and he's played 800 and whatever it is now straight, that he's got 2 penalties in the game.
Here's the Quebec power play. They trail 5-2 with Ron Roche and Brad Park and Dan Matheson. This is Dan Kelly in Hartford, Connecticut, where the Whalers have Quebec on the ropes. They won the first 2 games, and they lead this one 5-2. Quebec will operate on a power play right here. Lemieux on a face-off, and the puck comes to Siltanen. Now into the corner, but Joel Quenneville gets it for Hartford and fires it over onto the boards. Evason couldn't clear it out, but Quenneville did. And Siltanen has to go back. Siltanen to Hunter. Now to Picard. Siltanen and Picard, the point men, with Goulet, Hunter, and Lemieux up front. Here is Robert Picard, number 24. Firing it in. Liut missed it. Here's a shot. Liut gets back in, made the save. The red light is on, but I don't think that puck ever went into the net. I think the puck came across the crease, hit the post, and then Liut was able to grab it. But the red light did come on.
And went off. That's one of the Montreal neutral off-ice officials that are here. And he is nodding as if he said it went in the net. I don't think it did either, Dan, looking as we are from way above the ice surface. And again, Liut, I think it was very lucky, and I don't think he ever grabbed it. I think it just slid under him. Now, Ron Hogarth.
What a way to spend your birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, Ron. He has got both Stastny and Francis over there.
Has he got the phones down there? I can talk to him. I've got to talk to him.
All right, the reason they have the phones is you can't talk through the glass.
He wants to talk to the goal judge.
That's right. So he wants, what they've got is walkie-talkies. And so he's going to talk to the goal judge and find out what actually happened there. Now, the goal judge himself nodded as if it was in the net, but Again, he's got to get to a phone. I guess there it is down at the end of that seating area. Either that or he's going to walk around.
I think he's just going to walk to the
gate.
To the gate where Hogarth will meet him.
Now, we don't have a mic in that area, so we're just going to have to read lips a little bit and see what he says.
As we have mentioned, the off-ice officials are from Montreal, as they are in all Stanley Cup playoff series neutral off-ice officials.
The light went on, but it went off again very quickly, and it just might have been a quick trigger. Brad?
At one point, as we talked about neutral officials, I don't know if I'd call the officials from Montreal kind of neutral in a Quebec series.
We had a situation in New York the other night where one goal judge at one end of the ice in the Ranger-Philadelphia game had 3 goals go in, and he didn't call any of them. On all of the replays showed that they went in. Finally, Ron Wicks called the third one, which went right through the net. And
today we had talked to Ron Hogarth about the new camera that they were experimenting with in Cincinnati regarding replays of possible goals. I don't think that overhead camera would really help in this situation because the puck went under Liut and he was laying with his head across the goal line.
All right, I'll tell you something, Brad. I have seen what is the presentation tape that has been made, which is going to be presented to the league on this overhead camera, and it would have, as a matter of fact, demonstrated clearly what happened there. And I have gone from being a person who believed firmly that there should be no...
Apparently it is a Quebec goal from the reaction of the Nordiques.
All right, now we'll get a chance, and we'll see here. As back to get it there is Quenneville. Comes across the goal mouth. Now we lose sight of it. Now the goal, there it is, out in front of the crease now. It has not gone in the net at that point. Still hasn't gone in the net. Hand on the puck in the crease, Quenneville, but he slid it into Liut. Didn't cover it up. And at this point, as far as I'm concerned, it hasn't gone in the net. Now here's maybe a better view. Comes across the line. Still is out of the goal mouth area. Now it's going to go out in front of the crease there. There it is lying there. He slid it into Liut. And the light is on at that point. Now the only point where it could have gone in is right at the corner of the net to the right. Now look at this area, right to the corner of the net. This is the only place where it could have gone in. It comes across the goal mouth. Liut scrambling to get back in. Hits his skate. Where is it now? It's under his skate. It has not gone in the net. It did not go into the net. With 3 angles, we could show it.
But Hogarth and the goal judge have consulted, and he has awarded a goal to Quebec. And from all the replays that we have seen, the puck did not go into the net.
Dan, that is such a big goal at this stage in the hockey game, because if the Hartford Whalers can walk out of here with a 3-goal lead, they're going to dominate the third period. But this brings it back within range of the Nordiques. The puck did not go into the net.
I think what he may have seen, the goal judge at one point, was Liut's stick in the net.
Definitely, and the black tape on Liut's stick could give anybody an impression that the puck was in the net. Now watch Liut's stick go in, because the puck doesn't.
Watch the light though, too. Right above Goulet there is the light. There it goes. The puck is at the corner of the net there now, and it did, on that low angle replay, we know that it didn't go in the net at that time. Now, as I was going to say, I've seen the presentation film that the National Hockey League is going to be seeing, their governors and general manager are going to be seeing about the Indianapolis experiment over the cameras. Now, they're going to be, the way they would like it is a camera above each net. And I have gone from a person who firmly believed that the human aspect of the game should never be taken away, that electronics should never officiate a game, to somebody who believes that it should, because I think that that system works. And I don't know what the league is going to do after they see the video, but I have a feeling they're going to move in that direction.
The goal that wasn't is credited to Dale Hunter, a power play goal. Picard and Sultan in the assists. 11:06 the time. That cuts the Hartford lead to 5-3. And here we go again with play underway as Francis tries to move it in. Getting it into Deneen. Deneen checked before he could shoot. Now Goslas lost his goal stick. Puck centered. Samuelson, or at least it's held in by the defenseman Quenneville, and now Quebec break out as Peter Stastny Moves into the Hartford zone. Stosky shooting. Liut turned that aside. And now Dave Babbage firing it into center ice. Deneen knocking it down. Deneen headmanning it to Anderson. John Anderson taken out by Cote. And then it's shot to center and picked up by Quebec. Peter Stosny for the Nordiques, trying to drop it back. And it comes to center ice, and Picard has it there. Shooting it in, Tim Bothwell getting it. Bothwell clearing it to the Nordique line. Delorme shot it back. Here comes Anderson the other way for Hartford. Anderson shoots one. Gosselin the save, and Delorme comes up with a rebound and works it over to Patrick. Steve Patrick flips it to center. And the puck comes to the Hartford line with Samuelson back after it. Firing to McDermott. He missed it, but Jarvis gets it. Now Lemieux. Checked by Jarvis. Kicked along the boards, taken by Ashton. And Ashton fires it in. Liut out of the goal to grab it and then fire it over onto the boards to Dave Tippett. Tippett, number 15. Hartford leading by 2 here in the second period. Here's Jarvis through center. Into the Quebec zone. Center deflected. Gosselin just got a piece of that deflection by Tippett. Now McDermott trying to kick it along the boards. Here's Jarvis. Centered one. And then Hogarth taken out of the play. And then play is called as all heck breaks loose. The Hartford player who ran into Hogarth gave Hogarth a shove. He thought he was a Hartford player or a Quebec player. And we got a stoppage and a crazy call or incident right there. 5-3. Hartford leading.
Steve Patrick has been called for cross-checking. There's another penalty been handed out down there as well, so they'll be coincidental. And that incident behind the net, Hogarth just upended. So a happy birthday gift given Hogarth behind the net as the player slid into him, and he wound up slammed up against the board. So there's here's the incident here now as the puck was cleared away. This presented it as Ferraro cleared it out in front of the net. Now he's knocked down there. There goes the referee in against the boards, and he took the shot. He did. He thought that he'd been knocked over by one of the Quebec players. That was that McEwen in there?
No, I think it was Ferraro of Hartford who actually wound up bumping with the referee. Meanwhile, Price of Quebec gets a penalty for holding, and then Steve Patrick for cross-checking. So 2 penalties in the same play here to Quebec. Patrick for cross-checking, Price for holding. You don't see that very often.
We have what we, I guess, can call an eventful evening here. And meanwhile, the Whalers continue to lead this one by 2.
Well, Quebec is going to be 2 men short right here. 2 penalties on the same play called against the Nordiques. First penalty, Patrick for cross-checking, and then Price for holding. And Michel Bergeron can't believe it.
Well, he has had a difficult road to hoe in this playoff series. The 5-game series is a tough series. You lose the first game at home, the pressure all of a sudden switches from the team that obviously finished below you in the standings right out of your favor and into their favor. And that's what's happened to teams like Chicago, who are facing elimination at the hands of Toronto tonight. Certainly these Nordiques, also a divisional champion. I remember going back to the end of the Montreal Canadiens' reign when the Edmonton Oilers, who finished 16th in the league when they had that situation.
Here's Hartford. They score! With a 2-man advantage, Hartford takes a 3-goal lead again.
Doesn't anybody score even strength anymore? We've had shorthanded goals, power play goals. Now a 2-man advantage goal. Off the face-off, this became a 2-on-1. Caught up ice was Picard. And it wound up on the stick of Ferraro. And Ferraro again with that uncanny eye around the net. Put it in.
Price comes back on. So the other Quebec player, Steve Patrick stays in there. And it's 6-3 Hartford.
Took 7 seconds for that goal to be scored.
Coach Brad Park, how did you feel about the 2 penalties on the 1 play to Quebec?
As a coach, if they're called against you, you're going to go crazy. And Bergeron, he just stood there and laughed. He couldn't believe it. But they were both legitimate calls, because what happened, Hogarth on the first one had his hand up to call a penalty. McEwen did get checked into him on the second one. But you just hate to see it happen to you in the playoff game.
And Hartford quickly took advantage of it and scored with a 2-man advantage to take a 6-3 lead. Ferraro gets the goal. His second of this game. Anderson and Dineen the assist. 13:08 the time. Quebec is still 1 man short. So Hartford continuing on a power play. We have had, to say the least, an eventful second period. A goal allowed to Quebec that we or our cameras never did see go into the net. Then 2 penalties on 1 play, and quickly Hartford scored. Here's Ferraro trying to move it in for Anderson. Now to Dave Babbage. Shooting one. Oswald turned that aside. Cote into the corner. Ferraro on him. Here's Dineen. Back to Babbage. Babbage shooting one in front. Oh, and Ferraro passed it off instead of shooting. Here's Anderson. He scores! John Anderson into the top corner.
20.
And they are going nuts in Hartford.
27 seconds apart, these 2 power play goals. It hopped over the stick there. Anderson then was allowed to circle out of the corner. It looked a little bit like that winning goal in overtime when Turgeon scored. And again, the defenseman unable to pick him up on the power play. Anderson coming out to the spot in the face-off circle and then letting it go.
Well, now Quebec trailing by 4 with 6:26 left in the second period.
Good shot, and Anderson's had a terrific game here tonight. He picks up 2 points in 27 seconds. And the fans here in the second period are celebrating a 4-goal lead for Hartford.
Emil Francis, the president and GM of the Whalers, told us before the game that John Anderson probably is the Hartford club's best shooter, and we just saw it there.
He'd been trying to get Anderson from the days when he was with the Leafs, and Emil was the general manager of the St. Louis Blues. Finally got him just before the trade deadline, and he's become an important factor here.
2 power play goals just 26 seconds apart, and Hartford has a 7-3 lead. Back comes Peter Stastny into Ashton as the Nordiques come back, and sliding across was Quenneville to break up that 2-on-1. Here is Siltanen, shot from the point. The Ute stops that. Ashton back of the net. And now Samuelson trying to clear it. Picard held it in to Anton Stastny. Now to Ashton, but Samuelson there to break it up. And then clear it, and now we're going to get a penalty back in front of the net against Quenneville of the Hartford Whalers. So Quebec will go on a power play. It is 7-3 here in the second period in favor of Hartford.
The Philadelphia Flyers and the New York Rangers are tied at 1 game apiece and tied at 1 in the second period in their Patrick Division matchup. Tim Kerr has scored for the Flyers. In the Norris Division, it is now 2-1 North Stars after 1 period in St. Louis. Neil Broughton on the power play and Dennis Marook.
Those 2 goals for Hartford, 26 seconds apart on the power play. The Whalers have scored 4 power play goals here tonight. And Dave Tippett, who scored a shorthanded goal, trying to clear it out. Held in by Quebec. Here's a drive by Hunter wide of the target. Now the Nordiques unable to hold it in, and then they ruled it was hit with a hand pass. 4 power play goals by Hartford, plus a shorthanded goal. Quebec has had a power play goal. They've had 2 power play goals and 1 shorthanded.
And that takes care of 8 of the 10 goals that have been scored in this game. So the manpower situation, or shall we say the special teams, have not covered themselves in glory on one side, and certainly for Hartford's power play, just the opposite. They have had a great night.
That last scoring play, John Anderson gets the goal. Ferraro and Dave Babbage the assist. 13:34 the time to make it 7-3 Hartford. Here's Quebec coming back. Goulet leaving it there for Hunter. Now to Lemieux. Dropping one back. Quebec on a power play right here as they try and work it free to Hunter. Not in front, but Samuelson knocked it away. Here's Lemieux. Lemieux in behind the net to Hunter. Hunter out in front. Weak shot. Lemieux to save. Samuelson cleared it. Held in at the point. Now Siltonen's drive. Lemieux to save on that. And a pile up. And somewhere underneath Samuelson is that puck as now Goulet gets into a pushing match with one of the Hartford Whalers, Scott Kleinendorf.
There's the Kleinendorf, yeah, right in front of the net as Goulet and Hunter desperately looking to find a rebound here. Here's the shot, a good one from the slot area, from the high slot. Here it comes now, there it is. And a save off the blocker, but a long rebound, and that presented the problems. Now it's loose right there. Lemieux just gets down. Nice to have that size. And Hunter, ever so aggressively, going after it right in front of the net, as he always does. You see Hunter quit on a play.
Shots on goal to this point in the game, favoring Hartford 25-20. 7-3, though, the Whalers lead as Dave Babbage with Hartford still shorthanded, clearing it down the ice. Quenneville has 50 seconds left in his penalty. Here's Siltonen. Now to Ashton, number 9. In with Sauvé. Dropping it to Picard. Shot. Lemieux to save. Sauvé there to try and jab and loose, but couldn't. And we get a stoppage. Brad Park, I didn't expect this type of game with this situation. Quebec facing elimination. I didn't think it would be this wide open type of a game.
I think it started, Dan, in the first period. Here's the shot coming through Sauvé in front. Lemieux makes a good save, but he smothers the puck. I just think that Hartford's skating with so much confidence out there. They know they've got good goaltending from this guy, Mike Lemieux, and he's playing, he's got a hot hand, that they're taking all kinds of chances, they're gambling, and they're carrying the play and forcing the issue. And Quebec are having a great difficulty because their defense has been weakened by injuries.
There's a look at the goal, Judge. I'll tell you something. Look at him. He sits in a regular chair right in the middle of the crowd. Now, if he'd made that call in Madison Square Garden against the Rangers, I wonder what the reaction from the crowd would have been around that area.
Here's Delorme on the Quebec power play, a shot wide. Quebec with possession, getting it to Delorme again. Shooting, Lemieux to pad save. And the rebound is taken by Jarvis and cleared away. 20 seconds left in Quenneville's penalty. Number 6, Delorme for Quebec. The Nordiques trailing by 4. Here's Lemieux. Firing it behind the net. Lemieux out of the goal to clear it. Shot it up on the boards. Now Dale Hunter gets it to Lemieux. Saved by Lemieux on the short side. Delorme sliding in to hold it. Pokes it into the corner. Lemieux can't center. Bothwell trying to freeze the puck and couldn't. Here's Hunter to Lemieux. Trying to get it in front. Bothwell broke that up and cleared it away, and Eveson has it for the Whalers. Hartford now back at full strength. They've killed it off. Dean Eveson. That's a long one go. That's up high off the glass. Wayne Babbage in to get it for Hartford, but Gillis banked it off the boards for Quebec to Hunter. And Hunter bounces a long one wide of the Whaler goal, with Kleinendorf back for Hartford. Shooting it into center ice. Picked up by Ferraro. Ferraro poke checked in the play, and the play is offside at the Quebec blue line.
In the next intermission, Carly O'Keefe Sports salutes the Canadian Sports Hall of Fame and the man who pioneered hockey broadcasting. We'll also feature Hartford's Ron Francis along with the highlights and the NHL playoff scoreboard.
3:04 left in the second period. A high-scoring playoff game with Hartford leading 7-3. And Quebec, a very explosive team, but even they are in big trouble here as they face elimination and trail by 4 goals. Here's Eagles for Quebec. Couldn't get it into the zone. Torrey Robertson shooting it back into center. And Babbage poked it to the Quebec line. Donnelly shot it back out. Here's Robertson. He's checked, and now Babbage sliding it into the Nordiques zone, and Gord Donnelly, number 34. Rink wide to Pat Price. Price into center ice to Mike Eagles. Off the boards to Gillis, who flipped it in. Kleinendorf is there to bat it into the corner with a hand pass, and that will stop play, and we'll get a face-off in the Hartford zone.
Well, many people like to refer to the Adams division as a bit of a zoo. It's very, very close, top to bottom. Certainly in the playoffs, the 4 playoff teams are that way. As we look at Old Samuelson, who's had a great game for the Whalers. No divisional winner in the Adams division in the 5 years that they have been playing in interdivisional style play has gone on to play in the Wales Conference Final. They've been eliminated. They started back in 1981-82, and that was the year Quebec knocked the divisional champion Canadians out in overtime. Dale Hunter scored. In 82-83, Buffalo took the Canadians out in the first round 3 straight. In 83-84, Boston won it, and Montreal took them out in 3 straight. In 84-85, which was last year, Quebec eliminated the Canadians in the 7th game of the divisional final. So this year, it appears that history is going to repeat for the 5th year in a row.
Here's Dave Tippett for Hartford moving in to number 7, Stuart Gavin. Gavin trying to break free, but Picard knocked it away. And Quebec trying to move out of their own zone. Pass into center ice. And here's Peter Stastny trying to get it over to Kumpel. Kumpel whacking it behind the net. Shot away by Quenneville. And Siltanen has it for Hartford. Siltanen to Babbage, intercepted by Dave Babbage. In across the line to Evason to Turgeon. Stick save there by Gosselin. And Anton Stastny back for Quebec. To Peter Stastny. Waltzing through, and a backhander handled by Lioute. And then Lioute handled the rebound as well. Quebec. Picard at the point was checked by Gavin. And now Delorme knocking it back into the Hartford zone, and that's called on an offside at the Whaler blue line. 1:19 left. Brad Park talked, Ron, about, as we look at Gilbert Delorme, who, by the way, is playing with a bad thumb tonight, talked about the confidence that Hartford is playing with in front of Lioute. They know he can make the big save. You look at Lioute, his last 17 starts, playoffs and league. 12 wins, 3 losses, 2 ties. Not too shabby.
Well, I talked earlier about the stretch drive that the Whalers put on. We were talking to Kevin Deneen earlier, and I said, how do you like this playoff stuff? And he says, this is easy compared to our stretch drive.
They faced all that pressure. This is easy, according to Kevin. And we'll get a penalty here on that last play against Hartford. And against Scott Kleinendorf, who will be sent out by Ron Hogarth.
A tripping penalty to Kleinendorf, and he is in the penalty box again. A 4-goal lead for Hartford right now. You know, it's amazing how the order changes. I can remember, and I started to mention earlier, the Edmonton Oilers coming in, finishing 16th overall in 1980. The Canadians just won 4 straight Stanley Cups. The Oilers came in and beat the Canadians in 3 straight. A first-place team against a 16th-place team. The Oilers, of course, have become the great hockey club that they have become off that series, basically. They didn't go that much further in the playoffs. Here's a Hartford team that's young, has great balance, is based on young players, and we're seeing them knock off a team that many people thought could reach the Stanley Cup final this year, and they're doing it, if this continues the way it is, in 3 straight.
Here's Tippett breaking away, shorthanded for Hartford. Gosselin the save on Tippett, who scored one earlier, shorthanded, and now Quebec will and was checked from behind. And a tripping penalty called against Siltanen of the Nordiques.
Here it is, as coming out is Tippett, and nothing Siltanen could do but catch up on this one. As Tippett goes in, Siltanen, rather than let him get a good shot away, he brought a pretty good one away even as he was going down. He draws the penalty, a former Whaler who was traded for John Anderson in the second deal of the year in which team members traded dressing rooms at a game. Siltanen went the day of the game from one dressing room to the other. Earlier, we'd had Greg Malone do the same thing in a game we were here for, as a matter of fact, for our CTV series. And Malone went from the Whaler dressing room over to the Nordiques dressing room in much the same fashion. That was in the Wayne Babbage deal.
Ron Francis will be visiting with us in our intermission. Stay with us for that. 54 seconds left in the period. Each team a man short, and Hartford in control here. 7-3. Gilbert Delorme for Quebec. Poke check by Quenneville on the play. And Gillis tied up by Francis. Now Gillis into Aline Cote, number 19. Cote trying to center. Kevin Deneen there to knock it away. And Deneen into center ice to Francis. Francis dropping it back for Quenneville. His pass came outside the line, and Dave Babich will have to drop back, wait for his team to get onside. Here's Deneen passing to Francis. Missed him with the pass, and Price is there for Quebec. And he cleared it out with just 6 seconds left in the period. And a terrific period for the young Hartford Whalers as the final seconds tick off. Period 2 comes to an end. And after 40 minutes, it is Hartford 7, but Quebec Nordiques 3. Stay with us for our intermission. This is the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs on CTV.
Was the voice of hockey for over 50 years. We'll pay him tribute today as Carling O'Keefe Sports salutes Canada's Sports Hall of Fame.
If he drives it right back, he shoots it forward.
That most famous phrase in all Canadian sport was heard for the first time on a cold winter's night in February of 1923. Hockey fans across Canada listened to Foster Hewitt deliver the first broadcast of an NHL game. The modern age of hockey brought television coverage, expansion, rule changes, and new superstars. And yet the voice of hockey remained the same. For his commitment and dedication to sport, Foster Hewitt is honored in Canada's Sports Hall of Fame. Foster Hewitt was born in Toronto in 1903. At the age of 20, he became the first to broadcast a complete NHL hockey game. When Maple Leaf Gardens opened in 1931, he was both master of ceremonies and broadcaster for the first game in the new arena. For generations to come, his familiar opening was heard over most of the continent.
Ernest Dainty, and of course, Foster Hewitt. Hello, Canada, and hockey fans in the United States.
Hewitt's particular style of broadcasting conveyed the quickness and the exhilaration of the sport. In the course of his career, Foster called some of hockey's most spectacular games, like the 1944 Stanley Cup playoff when Maurice the Rocket Richard scored a record 5 goals in one game. In 1962, he saw Bobby Hull break the Rockets' record of 50 goals in one season. The highlight of Foster Hewitt's career was the first Canada-Soviet series of 1972. Foster provided the commentary as he followed our team to Moscow and was witness to the greatest comeback in hockey history. When he described Paul Henderson's winning goal, his voice sparked a celebration that Canadians will never forget.
Here's another shot right by the goal!
Among the many honors that Foster Hewitt received for over 50 years of broadcasting are membership into the Hockey Hall of Fame and the Order of Canada. Foster Hewitt, the voice of hockey, was inducted into Canada's Sports Hall of Fame in 1975.
In the second period, the Hartford Whalers outscored the Quebec Nordiques 3-1 on goals by Ulf Samuelsson, Ray Ferraro, and John Anderson. The lone Quebec tally in that frame coming off the stick of Dale Hunter, or something Dale Hunter. You say it didn't come off Dale Hunter, Brad Park.
Well, we'll get to that a little bit later in our package, but I think the Hartford Whalers are a team that's just not going to be denied tonight. They've come out strong at the beginning of the period. They finished the period strong. There was a disputed goal in between, and that's just not going to deny them. We're going to have a look at our first highlight tonight in the second period is Ulf Samuelson's goal. Now here's a look at John Anderson walking in. Watch Gosselin out of the net, plays the shot. Now it's going to be the recovery time of Gosselin. Here's Samuelson at the point, shooting the puck. Gosselin's got scrambled back to the net, is screened, but the puck finds the hole right between his legs. Gosselin was deep in the net, and it was just one of those goals that happened, but it picked up the Hartford Whalers without a doubt. The second goal, or the highlight, is the one by Anderson. It's a power play. Here's the shot from the point. It gets in front of the net. Here's Ferraro going wide. Now watch Anderson pick it up in the corner. He walks to the front. Everybody's a little bit disorganized, but what a wrist shot that just beats Gosselin. Now look where Gosselin is in the net. He's still deep in the net, and he got beat pretty good on that one.
And that was the goal that made it 7-3.
Now the Carling O'Keefe Sports. Play of the period.
Can I guess?
All right, the disputed goal. The goal that wasn't. The goal that did not go in the net, however, they felt it did. And we got to look at this highlight, and you've got to watch Mike Liut's right leg. As the puck goes behind the net, watch Goulet pick it up on the other side. It comes across. Now watch Liut's right foot. Here comes the puck across the crease. It's in the skate. There it is, right out by the top of the crease. The puck did not go in the net, but the goal judge called it in.
Doesn't look like the Nordiques are going to be able to make much use of it, though. It's 7-3 Hartford as we get set for the third period. This is Carling O'Keefe Sports, Stanley Cup playoff action on CTV.
Quebec Nordiques, so the Nordiques know what they have to do in the third period, and it's a big uphill climb for them.
Well, if you're behind and facing elimination by a goal or two, you're still in the thick of things, but this would take a gargantuan comeback by Quebec, trailing by 4 goals and facing a red-hot Mike Liut.
That record, by the way, 5-0-2 in the last 7 home games. That is a club record for consecutive unbeaten at home for the Whalers. And this team has really caught the public fancy. This is a team that a couple of years ago lost $1.5 million, lost $1 million last year, and this year they're happy that they're going to be losing only about, well, at the end of the season they figured about $500,000, but with some playoff money now, it looks like it's going to be almost a break-even situation.
Or maybe a money maker, depending on how far they go. Here we go at the third period, and Hartford has a 7-3 lead. Each team a man short as this period begins. Goulet sliding it across to Dale Hunter. Hunter over onto the other side, now centered for Delorme, but Ron Francis is there to knock it away. Can't get it out, and Quenneville drops to Samuelson, now to Deneen, who shoots it to the Quebec line. Dale Hunter dropping it back into his own zone to Delorme, and Gilbert Delorme, number 6 for Quebec. Into center ice to Cote. Babbage skates him off, and Stuart Gavin for Hartford, dropping it into his own zone to Tim Bothwell. Bothwell winding it around onto right wing to Babbage to Gavin. Now Hartford's penalized player back on, so the Whalers on a brief power play. They move in, but it's broken up at the Quebec line. Just 4 seconds left in Siltonen's penalty, and then Quebec will be at full strength. Siltonen is back on. Here's Dave Babbage. Lead pass to Eveson, number 12. Centering one, knocked away by Quebec. Donnelly failed to clear it out. Shot in behind the Quebec goal, and Picard gives it to Ashton. Turgeon pinching in. Now it's Gavin to Babbage. Into the corner. Turgeon centering to Gavin, but he's knocked off the puck by Siltonen, and right back comes Gillis. Into Brent Ashton for the Nordiques, centering it. Liut slides across and makes a big save, and then the next try hits the side of the net. Another shot by Picard, and Liut stopped that. And then Picard is upended. That was twice on that same rush that Liut beat Picard.
He is, for a big man, very quick in the goal mouth area. If Picard goes down, you're always concerned as we see this play unfold. That's Ashton breaking in with that goal mouth pass and a chance for Picard. Now Picard picks it up again, slides it in front of the net. But Liut gets across very quickly. Perhaps as much a secret to, along with the fact that he never goes down, as you can see in that sequence, secrets to his play, his agility, cat-like quickness. We can use the rather old phrase that led to the nickname of the general manager of this team, Emile the Cat Francis. Who's a goaltender?
7-3, Hartford leading. And they need to just win this game to win the series. And they're in mighty good shape, as one might think. Puck cleared near the Quebec line. Shot in by McDermott. McDermott and Delorme wrestle around. Now the puck centered, but Anton Stastny gets it, and right back comes Quebec. Anton Stastny trying to feed it through. Intercepted by Kleinendorst, and here's McDermott to Jarvis. Back to McDermott with a drive, and Gosselin a glove save, and look at Gosselin almost to the blue line with a lead pass into center ice. Back comes Mike McEwen for Hartford, number 25. His shot off a stick and up over the glass into the crowd. And that's the way the third period begins. One of the many signs here at the Civic Coliseum in Hartford, the Whalers with Quebec on the brink of elimination. Here's Goulet for the Nordiques, and Liu to save on the short side. And now coming back is Babbage. Long pass to Deneen, missed the mark, or missed Deneen, but they rule Hartford. Quebec could have played it. There's no icing. Now Dale Hunter getting it into center ice. And coming back and breaking the play up was Deneen, and Deneen, a lead pass to Francis, who stayed onside in the play. He drops it to John Anderson. This is Hartford's big scoring line, Francis, Deneen, and Anderson, but Quebec break this one up, and a lead pass to Goulet all the way down the ice, and Liuk setting it up for Tim Bothwell. Now to Babbage. Dave Babbage for Hartford to Torrey Robertson, number 32. Robertson to Wayne Babbage, number 17. Tried to flip it in front, and that's knocked away, and Hunter just cleared it to center ice. Here's Ashton picking it up. Brent Ashton. Ashton, number 9, out in front. Liut, the save. Tries to smother it, and it's poked at and poked wide by Ashton. And then Hartford come right back. Ferraro, number 26. And Ferraro just dumps it in. Quebec's Delorme starting back up. Headmanning it into center ice to Ashton, and that's called back on a 2-line offside pass.
The World Hockey Association came, of course, into the National Hockey League 5 years ago, as we look at Alain Lemieux. And it has had its effect, certainly. There's a sign there, you see it. The WHA is alive and well in the NHL. Who would have believed it? But Quebec is a divisional champion. Edmonton, obviously, defending Stanley Cup champions and winners again in their division. That's half of the league. They are WHA teams. Here's Hartford on the rise. Winnipeg also, of course, the other team of the 4 that came into the league. So, yes, the WHA is alive and well and winning in the NHL.
Brad Park, if you're coaching Quebec, you're down by 4 coming into the third period. What do? Send 5 men in and take a chance, or what?
You're not going to play defense, believe me. You're going to have your defensemen going every time they can. You may even take a forward and put them on defense.
Here's Gavin back for Hartford. Dropping one to Everson, swept away by the Nordiques into center ice as Mike Eagles broke it up. And now McEwen to Gavin at center, and Stuart Gavin just shoots it in. Gord Donnelly trying to clear it out. Cote, number 19. And now back of the play, a Quebec player shaken up. Fans reacting to that as play goes right on. There's no penalty call. And Kleinendorst has it as Gillis was the injured player for Quebec. He goes to the bench and then hollers at the official. He's okay, but I thought that Hartford should have had a penalty. Here's Donnelly for the Nordiques to Goulet. Knocked away by the defense. Now a drop pass to Goulet. Came outside the line. Carried back in, and it's offside. You're watching the Stanley Cup playoffs on CTV. .1450 remaining in the third period. The Hartford Whalers 7, Quebec 3. Well, that's the play that Quebec was complaining about, as Gillis was upended near the net and then chopped at.
Turgeon.
Brad Park, as we went to the last commercial, had one comment. He said, things may get ugly.
Oh, it has that capability. Just that last play with Turgeon and Gillis. You know, you don't save it now if you've got some hate out there.
Here's Jarvis dumping it in. Gosselin out of the net to stick handle by one man and feeds Siltanen. Now to Goulet at center, and he flips it in. Dave Babbitt's back to get it, clearing it into the corner. Now Goulet for Quebec does center. Loose in front, but cleared away by Joel Quenneville. And now Dave Tippett, a lead pass to McDermott. McDermott taken out by Picard, got the shot off anyway. And then McDermott tumbled into the boards, but he gets up, he's okay. A tough competitor, McDermott. Back is Siltanen for Quebec into Hunter. Hunter couldn't get the shot off. Now over on the far side, Anton Stastny for Quebec. Over to the other point to Donnelly, and Liut gets a piece of that to steer it away. And then Samuelson in front of the net, getting his stick up with Dale Hunter. Samuelson and Hunter have to be separated.
Hunter ripped the stick out of Samuelson's hand and then dropped his own stick. They have separated finally.
So Ulf Samuelson and Dale Hunter will go to the penalty box here in Hartford.
Playing at home, the Maple Leafs are on their way to eliminating Chicago from the Stanley Cup playoffs. Tom Fergus, Mirko Freecher made it 4-0. Wendell Clark has also scored. That is now 5-0 in Toronto. In Boston, it's tied one more time. For the third time this evening, Bob Gainey has brought the Canadians back.
Talk about horses for courses, teams for teams. Chicago had a good year. They seem to control things pretty much in their division except one team, Toronto. And Toronto obviously has a way of playing that team that doesn't appeal to Bobby Fulford and company.
Definitely. You never know what's going to happen when you get into playoffs, and a lot of first-place teams complain when they play a lower club and the club knocks them off.
Here's Hartford with Kevin Dineen shooting one. Gosselin the save on that, and Ashton tries to clear it out. Held in by Anderson. Pass to Dineen. Dineen looking to return it. Dropping it to Kleinendorf. Shooting. That deflects just wide. Now Dineen, number 11. Gosselin poked it away from him. Francis and Ashton into the corner. And Ashton firing it over onto the other wing. Hartford, John Anderson held it in. Into Dineen, who fell down. And then Ashton cleared it. Here's Anderson. Back of the net to Dineen again. Number 11, Dineen, out in front of shot. They score! John Anderson, and it's 8-3 for Hartford.
John Anderson has been in and will receive points on the last 5 Hartford goals. A 5-point night for Anderson. He has made it 8-3. A former Nordique. He was traded twice this year. First from the Toronto Maple Leafs to Quebec, and now here he is in Hartford, and obviously very happy about it. The pass out, short angle, a slow getting across to cover on the short side was Gosselin. John Anderson picks up his 2nd consecutive goal and his 5th consecutive point.
Anderson from Dineen at the 7-minute mark. It is 8-3 for the Whalers. By the way, those previous penalties to Samuelson and Hunter each drew double minors, coincidental penalties, but they're both gone for 4 minutes. Quite a night for John Anderson, the native of Toronto, the ex-Leaf, the ex-Nordique, and quite a night so far for Emil Francis, Jack Evans, and the Hartford Whalers. Here's Peter Stastny, dropping it to Pat Price. A shot, Liut turned that aside. Now Anton Stastny couldn't center. Now behind the net, Cote trying to work it in front. He fell down, and Quenneville gets it into center ice, and it just dumped in by Hartford. Tip it in to get it. Trying to center to McDermott, who was behind him, and it's shot into center ice. And the crowd is singing here in Hartford, Connecticut. Long shot by McDermott, just wide. Siltanen into center ice to Peter Stastny. And across the line, Anton Stastny to Peter. Shot right on, Liut the save. Here's it to Torrey Robertson. Now to Ferraro. Ray Ferraro to Robertson. Back to Ferraro, but Gord Donnelly was there. Couldn't clear it, and now it comes to Anton Stosny, who drops it back deep into his own zone, and now Cote flipping it out on the boards. Came out of the zone. Hartford trying to carry back in, but Babbage was checked. And then the puck is just shot to the Hartford line, and Robertson, with Hartford leading 8-3. Puck cleared in. Shot out by Donnelly, and Kleinendorf is there. Kleinendorf clearing it back in for Hartford. Vosla out of the net to play the puck. Shoots it over onto the boards, and now DeLorme for the Whalers. Flipping it into center ice, and Dave Babbage knocks it down there. Turgeon to Wayne Babbage, back to Turgeon. Trying to break in, but he's tied up, and Donnelly comes up with the puck. Into center ice to Mark Kumpel, number 17. Kumpel to his backhand, and Liut got a skate on that. Here's Kumpel behind the net. Knocked away by Dave Babbage. Now back to the net, and centered, and Eveson is there. Giving it to Stuart Gavin, back to Dean Eveson. Ahead to Turgeon, but the play is offside at the Quebec blue line. 8-3 in favor of Hartford. You're watching the Stanley Cup playoffs on CTV.
It's all over on the island, and it's all over for this year for the Islanders. 3 different defensemen scored for the Caps. They complete a 3-game sweep of their arch rivals, 3-1 tonight's final. Elsewhere in the Patrick Division, the Flyers have now gone in front of the Rangers, playing in the second period in Madison Square Garden. Ilkka Sinisalo with the only goal so far of the second frame.
Well, here we have 10:43 to play. And it's some kind of penalty call on that last play, or what? I see Hogarth over at the penalty timekeeper's box, and I'm not sure why.
Dan, I kept my eye on Paul Gillis and Sylvain Turgeon, and Gillis was going out of his way to get at Turgeon. He cross-checked him in the back, he hooked him, and right at that last play as they crossed the blue line, Gillis hooked Turgeon right around the lip. He got the stick up on him, and that goes back to that spear in front of the net and the slash. Here's a look. Now watch Turgeon. Now as the camera comes back, watch this.
Oh,
excuse me.
I don't think he even said that. Too many high sticks.
Gillis gets a high sticking, so does Turgeon. Again, coincidental penalties. 10:43 left, 8-3. Hartford. Well, just the year that everyone thought that Washington would be eliminated after having been eliminated 3 years in a row by the Islanders. The Capitals sweep the Islanders in 3 straight.
I thought history might repeat because of the injury list going in. The word was that they were going to miss Carpenter for at least the first 2 games of the series. Gartner was going to be out perhaps the first 2 as well. They came back for the opening game, and that was probably the biggest thing in their favor.
Here's Quebec moving in, and the play goes offside at the Hartford blue line. John Anderson with a very big night for the Hartford Whalers.
John Anderson played on a line with 2 members of the Whalers at the World Hockey Championship, the silver medalist World Hockey Championship in Prague, Czechoslovakia last year. Now, all of a sudden, he's reunited with Ron Francis and Kevin Dineen, plays on Francis's line. And I'm sure that Francis, and Dineen, of course, as well, were very pleased to see him come over here. He's a great skater, adds speed to the wing on this team. And a veteran player, and look at the leadership he showed in this game tonight. The icing is called there. The leadership he has shown in this game has been tremendous, Brad. And you look at people, a young team like this, the hardest thing, I think, for a young team to learn to do is close the deal. And I think that as we looked at the beginning of this game, they got into the 2-0 lead, and all of a sudden, Quebec kept narrowing it again on them. All of a sudden, Anderson took over and blew the game apart with the 5 straight points.
Definitely. John Anderson is such an effective player in this game. I don't think that the Nordiques really wanted to trade John Anderson because he had played well for them. But because of the injuries this year that they had to their defense, they had to go and get a defenseman. And Siltanen, I'm sure they shopped around the league, and Siltanen was one of the few guys that they thought they could acquire, and they had to give up a player to get him, and they didn't really want to lose Anderson.
Here's Siltanen at the point with a shot wide. Now Kleinendorf getting it loose for Jarvis, who pokes it to Tippett at center. Quebec break it up, and Picard starting back for the Nordiques, trying to shoot it in. McEwen tried to clear it. Now Picard again. Backhander well wide of the net from a bad angle. Here's Eagles with a shot. He missed the net. Quebec holding it in, but now Tippett to Jarvis. Oh, he takes a lick from Eagles. Right in the center ice area. Now Ashton gets it into the Hartford zone, and the much-traveled Mike McEwen beating Kevin Dineen to Kleinendorf, who got it into center ice, and then it's shot back in by Picard. Here comes Goulet for Quebec, centering one right across the front of the net. And now Anderson for the Nordiques shoots it to center, and it's Picard at the Quebec blue line. Lead pass to Anton Stastny, but Dave Babbage is back to get it. Babbage for Hartford. Fired it. It took a crazy hop off the boards. Comes to Donnelly at the point. He partially fanned, and back comes Quenneville for Hartford. Quenneville to Dineen. Back to Quenneville, and off his skate wide. Quenneville behind the net, couldn't center. And now Quebec with Goulet just shoot it to center ice. Dave Babbage, number 44, the ex-Winnipeg Jet, just flipping it and flipping it up over the glass into the crowd. 8-3, Hartford leading. This is the NHL on CTV.
The Maple Leafs aren't out of the woods yet. The Chicago Blackhawks are coming back. Goals by Ken Yaremchuk and Tom Lysiak, 5-2. Kent Nielsen in the second frame has given the North Stars a 3-1 lead in St. Louis.
Right from the face-off, the puck cleared up over the glass into the crowd, and here you see some of the happy folks in Hartford, Connecticut. 8:47 left. Their team leading 8-3, and 30-year-old Mike Liut, one of the big reasons for that.
Who's next? Will it be the Canadians or the Boston Bruins, says the sign.
They're ready to take on the world here in Hartford tonight.
And I think of what we've seen in this series and the cohesiveness of play that they are quite capable of beating either the Canadians or the Boston Bruins. Should be a good series.
Here's a shot. They score! Liut stopped the first one, but Kumpel was there to get the rebound, and that cuts the Hartford lead to 8-4.
This puck seemed to slide upwards off the stick of Liut, and as it did so, Liut lost control of it. The deflection in front of the net, it seemed to go up in the air and is batted out of midair and down into the net past Liut. But the fact that he failed to control that rebound is the problem. We'll let him have that small slip, I think, at this stage.
So that cuts the Hartford lead to still a sizable 4-goal margin. By the way, we've had 6 power play goals in this scored in this game. 4 by Hartford, 2 by Quebec. The all-time record is 7, set back in 1984 in the Minnesota-Edmonton series. Here's Dave Tippett for the Whalers shooting it in. Now Jarvis back to get it, trying to clear it. Gives it to Tippett, who knocked it back of the net. And Delorme taking over for the Nordiques, flipping it to center ice. Samuelson breaks it up as Kumpel comes down to try and work the puck free, and we get a stoppage. That last scoring play, Kumpel, his first goal to the playoffs, assisted by Lemieux at 11:19.
Trevor Steinberg also, or Steinberg in there, the young junior from London of the OHL, his first point in the playoffs.
Face-off is going to be at the...
We had Steinberg. I had him not listed. I think it is Siltanen.
Yeah, it is Siltanen. That Steinberg was scratched by Quebec. So the announcement incorrect, and should read Kumpel from Siltanen and Lemieux at 11:19. Thought I'd heard you say right at the outset that Steinberg was...
that's right, it did. Shocked me a bit.
Long time ago, you know.
Yeah.
Here's Kleinendorf in center ice, flipping it in. And going back to get it is Pat Price for the Nordiques, who trail by 4 with less than 8 minutes to play. Alain Cote tipping it in, and that's called back on a 2-line offside. 7:33 to play. perhaps in the season for the Quebec Nordiques. This is the NHL on CTV. Well, the Hartford Whalers seem to have this series locked up. Our next telecast on CTV next Thursday night, 7:30 Eastern time. Washington against either Philadelphia or New York. Here is Denis now for Hartford with a couple of pops. First stop by Gosselin. The second went wide. And now back comes Hunter shooting it in. High shot. Well, Ute looked like the tallest shortstop in history as he came out to catch that one.
Talk a little bit about Emile Francis and what he has done with his hockey team since he took the team over. And may I say, he took the team over at the same time that he went into the National Hockey League's Hall of Fame as a builder. He then proceeded to rebuild the Hartford Whalers. There's only one player left on the team from the team he took over 3 years ago. That is Ron Francis. This year alone, he has acquired through trade Stuart Gavin from Toronto in October for Chris Kotsopoulos, Tim Bothwell from St. Louis for future considerations, Babbage from Winnipeg for Ray Neufeld, Doug Jarvis for Jorgen Pettersson, Wayne Babbage for Greg Malone, John Anderson for Risto Siltanen, and then Mike McEwen over from Crawford. That's 7 players acquired in deals this year, and he's got a good hockey club.
Here's Anderson stealing. Centers to Francis and trying to get it back to Anderson, but it was tipped. We were in Hartford about a year ago in March, and they were ready to run Emile Francis right out of town, and Jack Evans with him. Well, now they want to put him on a pedestal here in Hartford. What a difference a year makes. Dan, take it.
Let's go elsewhere in the Adams division in Boston. It's all over right now, and Bob Gainey, an unlikely offensive hero for the Canadians, scores the tying goal in the third period and then gets the winner shorthanded. 4-3 Montreal the final. Elsewhere, it's Edmonton 4-1 in Vancouver. That with play in the third period. Thomas Gradine for the Canucks. Wayne Gretzky has pushed the score up to 4-1.
Brad, you saw the Montreal Canadiens at the tag end of the season when you brought your Detroit Red Wings into the Forum. You've seen this Hartford Whalers team. How about a little preview of what that series is going to look like?
I think right now that Hartford's probably skating better than Montreal. Montreal has a great rivalry with Boston, and which brings the guys up to play at a better level. But I don't think there's a team right now, very few that are skating as well as Hartford.
Well, I agree with you. And I'm from Montreal.
6:28 left here in the third period. Puck is tipped in by Wayne Babbage, and going back to get it and clearing it is Siltanen as the Nordiques try and come back. And couldn't get it in as Dave Babbage knocked it down. To Ferrero, now to Wayne Babbage. Back to Ray Ferrero. Gosselin out of the net to knock it away. And the Nordiques, Picard can't get it out. Now he tries to tie up his man on the boards. Ferrero comes in. Corey Robertson continued to battle, but now Cote just drops it back to Siltanen. And number 12 for Quebec and the former Whaler, Risto Siltanen. To center ice. Into Ashton. Ashton leaving it for Eagles. Couldn't get his shot off. Eagles continues to battle now to Dale Hunter. Everson tied him up. Quebec trying to center. Knocked away from the side of the net by Tim Bothwell. Ashton dropping it back. And Everson intercepts at Hartford. Try and clear it out. And finally do Turgeon to Dean Everson, number 12. Everson around Trice in on goal. Shot it wide. And Delorme comes back for Quebec. Into center ice to Ashton. Pass in behind Goulet. And now Everson comes back for the Whalers. Everson to Turgeon. Turgeon moving in. And then back of the play, Ashton getting into it with Stuart Gavin. And now Dale Hunter and Samuelson get into it over on the boards. Two separate fights going.
Well, Samuelson's not a fighter. He's never learned anything about that. As I said about him, he is, first of all, he's going to find out how to fight here, I guess, against Hunter. We'll sort of watch this one. We've got two of them. The linesmen are tied up, so that means that Hunter and Samuelson are going to be allowed to do it on their own because the linesmen are tied up in the other area. There it is, off to the right of your picture. That's the main event. The other one has been nicely controlled by the linesman. And Ron Hogarth just trying to keep everybody away from this one. Doesn't want a third man in there. They're not doing much, either one of them. They've got a good hold on each other. Samuelson's a big guy. Interesting thing is, how often do you see a fight anymore in which both combatants have their helmets on?
Now, as they fall to the ice, in come the linesmen to separate Samuelson and Dale Hunter. And they're probably so doggone tired after that wrestling match that they're relieved that the linesmen finally got there. 4:58 remaining, 8-4 in favor of Hartford.
West Ashton, roughing as well over
Here,
here.
Ron Hogarth, the referee, as he meets out the penalties.
2 and 2 to Gavin and Ashton, 5 and 5 to Hunter and Samuelson, 5 each. Gavin is heading to the penalty box. We've got 4:58 left in this hockey game. As we think ahead to the playoffs, and let's look back a little bit. The Hartford Whalers endured a stretch up to March 1st in which they'd gone 2-13-1. So they'd managed to win just 2 of 16 games. It appeared at that point they were right out of the picture. They were missing both Francis and Dineen. Dineen came back on March 2nd in a game here at the Hartford Civic Center against Boston. That game, they won against Boston. From that point to tonight, with concluding a win tonight, their record is 15-3-2. And that was what I was referring to as one of the great stretch drives in NHL history, a playoff drive. You won't see many better than that one, where a team will go, well, first of all, 12-3-2 to gain, just barely gain, a playoff spot. And we were talking to Jack Evans prior to the game, Dan, and he was saying, you know, we couldn't afford to lose more than 3 games. I mean, we lost 3, and we were worth our life just by losing the 3. They went down to the final weekend.
Quite a stretch drive indeed by the Whalers. We talked earlier about Emil Francis, and a year ago we were here, Brad, and the press were on his back, the fans were on his back, they were on Jack Evans' backs. What a difference a year will make, and Francis and Jack Evans look pretty smart right now.
Oh, Dan, it wasn't even a year ago. It was this year. There was all kinds of rumors. Jack Evans had an altercation with a reporter. There was all kinds of controversy. They were demanding that Jack Evans be fired. Emil Francis should do it, and if he doesn't do it, he should go himself. But there's nothing like winning hockey games to overcome any kind of controversy.
Talk about rebuilding jobs, though. When you think about it, they had no draft choices to speak of. They'd all been traded away or flip-flopped. There weren't that many good draft choices. You don't trade into contention generally in this league anymore. Generally, you have to go through the draft, and yet that's basically what, except for some key players, of course, and I have to look at Francis, first of all, certainly the key, but they have, in fact, traded this team into contention. And it's one of the great, I think, jobs done by a general manager. Another great job, because it's been done before by Francis.
I think that if you look around the National Hockey League, you realize that the best teams in the National Hockey League usually have the best management. And that goes for teams like Quebec and Montreal and Boston. They're all have been there year in and year out, regardless of they make the playoffs or not. The management dictates really what the product is on the ice.
We're down to 4:42 remaining here in the third period. Hartford with an 8-4 lock on this game and on this series. Francis turning in center ice, dropping it back into his own zone to Dave Babbage. Hartford, by the way, each team is, all the penalties were coincidental, apparently. I thought that they'd given an extra penalty to one of the players, but apparently not. Back comes Anton Stastny, shot wide, rebound. Cote stopped as he tried to jam it in. And it's cleared away. Gord Donnelly pinching in from the point for Quebec. Got it in front. That's knocked away by the Hartford defense. And here comes Ron Francis, number 10. Francis leaving it there. Comes to Mike McEwen. His shot deflected off Donnelly into the corner. And McEwen held it in again. Backhander, and that deflected as it went off McDermott into the corner. Now Cote for Quebec. Winding it around to Gord Donnelly. To Anton Stastny. Trying to get it to his brother Peter. That's intercepted, and here's Kleinendorf beating McDermott. Siltanen broke that up. Now Tippett behind the net. Tippett for Hartford. Dropping it back there. McDermott couldn't center, and Lemieux Cleared it. Kleinendorst held it in. Kleinendorst shooting one. That deflects wide. Here's McDermott, number 23. Trying to center, and it's taken away by Eagles for Quebec, number 11. Just dumped into the Hartford zone, and we're under 3 minutes left here. Kleinendorst firing it back out. Pat Price has it there. To Lemieux, to center ice to Steve Patrick. Quenneville hustling back. And Joel Quenneville, number 3. Now to Kleinendorst into center ice. Here's Torrey Robertson with a shot, and Gosselin, a glove save. And he held on to that. And let's go to Dan Matheson again right here.
We're going to check the Smythe Division scores tonight. Winnipeg Jets fighting for their playoff lives. They are down 2-0 in the series. They were down 2-0 in the game to Calgary, but Paul McLean has brought them even in the third period. Esa Tikkanen has made it Edmonton 5. Canucks won that in the third in Vancouver.
And here in Hartford, 8-4, and this will be the third time in the last 4 years that the divisional champion in the Adams has gone out in 3 straight games in the opening round. Should decline it maybe a championship.
The Whalers in control here as Kumpel for Quebec. Tried to move it in. Babbage is there, number 44. Gets it outside the line. Shot back in by Quebec, but here's Torrey Robertson, number 32. Robertson to Ferraro. Shoots one, and that goes off a stick and up into the crowd, and we're down to 2:12 remaining. As Dan Matheson has already told you, Montreal has won its series with Boston, and it looks like the Hartford Whalers will be taking on the Canadiens.
Wayne Babbage, the brother of course, the defenseman Dave Babbage, the highest draft choices in terms of brothers. One was a second choice overall in the draft, and the other a third choice overall in the draft, one by St. Louis, the other by Winnipeg. But looking at the point totals in this game for the Whalers, Anderson has 2 goals and 3 assists, a 5-point night. Ferraro has 2 goals and 1 assist. We also have 2 points for Dineen, both assists. Francis a goal and an assist. Samuelson a goal and an assist. 2 assists for Dave Babbage, and a goal and an assist by Dineen.
Siltanen trying to get from being behind his own goal. The Nordiques trailing by 4 with now less than 2 minutes to play. Here's Delorme shooting it in for Quebec. Going back to get it is Dave Babbage. Anton Stastny intercepts. To Cote, who shot it wide. And then Quenneville feeds it to Anderson. To Dineen. Dineen with Francis. Dineen shoots one. Gosselin scores! Dineen makes it 9-4 for the Hartford Whalers.
Well, they're celebrating here.
I think Gosselin just put that one in himself, Ron.
Yeah, he did. He looked like he made the save, and it kind of started to reach for it, and I think he threw it into his own net. Watch it here. This is what happens, of course, when you start pinching your defenseman up. You wind up on 2-on-1. Dineen just elected to go with it. The shot. Now here, as he reached for it, he just kicked it backwards and into his own net. That's what happened. So now it's 9-4. We have to harken back to one of the games we did earlier this year for CTV against Quebec, and the Hartford Whalers that night won 11-6. They have beaten the Canadiens, scored 11 goals against the Canadiens earlier this year in this building. They can run up the score. And it's been a nightmare for the Nordiques and their fans.
A long, frustrating evening indeed. Dineen gets the goal from Anderson and Quenneville. 18:23 the time.
Want to know who our offensive star of the game is? The fellow's got 6 points now.
John Anderson.
But
In on the last 6 goals for the Hartford Whalers.
he started his rush when the score was 3-2. And it's just been an Anderson show. Took over and has socked it to his ex-teammates.
Now it is Quebec dumping it in. Kleinendorst back to get it. Goulet into forecheck on him. In comes Lemieux trying to kick it loose. Knocked away by Jarvis. And the Whalers with Tippett starting back. Tippett just dumps it in. Gosselin glove save. There's to Gord Donnelly. It feeds it out to Michel Goulet. to Lemieux, who can't clear it in, and Tippett comes right back for Hartford to Jarvis. Jarvis into a zone, and less than a minute to play here in Hartford, with the Whalers in control with a 9-4 lead. McDermott moving into the Quebec zone. He was checked, and the crowd is standing here in Hartford. Let's listen to him and watch the Whalers eliminate the Nordiques here in the Adams division.
Into the WHA by the NHL and got into the playoffs their very first year, only to be eliminated by the Canadiens in 3 straight. They had never won a playoff game until last Wednesday night. It took them 5-6 years, actually. Mike Liut, truly a hero, playing to the form that he exhibited the year he was the runner-up for the Hart Trophy. 3 straight against the Nordiques, and bring on the Canadiens is what they're going to be saying here in Hartford.
Mike Liut, the 30-year-old native of Western Ontario, one of the heroes for Hartford, but they had many. And there's John Anderson in his 6-point evening.
What a hero.
Against his old team.
Against his old team. They had a great year, Quebec. They struggled, they fought, and finally they broke free in the Adams division to win it by a considerable margin over the Canadiens. Many people thought this was the year, because they didn't have a difficult final couple of weeks of the year, that the Adams division champion had a chance to advance. But not to be, because of a young upstart team that is quickly developing a great following across Canada.
Who would have believed it? The upstart Hartford Whalers, 4th place finishers on the last weekend of the season, eliminate the division champion Quebec Nordiques in 3 straight. The final score here tonight, Hartford 9, Quebec 4. You've been watching the Stanley Cup playoffs on CTV.
Speaking of red,
it's the Calgary Flames against the Edmonton Oilers in Game 6, and Don Koharski is tonight's referee. The linesmen are Swede Knox and Gord Brasseker. 23-year-old Grant Fuhrer starts again for the Edmonton Oilers. He has been nothing short of sensational in this series, perhaps the Oilers' best player for the first 6 games. And another 23-year-old out of the same draft in 1981 is Grant Fuhrer, Mike Vernon, who was the best player on the ice in game number 5, will start again for the Calgary Flames. The goaltending has been heroic. The series has been sensational, and Mickey, this building is wild.
Wild isn't the word for it, Jimmy. Everybody in this city is wearing red. You can name it. Doctors, lawyers, everybody. They're all here from all parts of life tonight, and they've all got some kind of red on.
They've shut down the town for this game.